but like I said, relax, chill, talk, dude. I'm stoked to actually get down and actually talk to you because, like, when I started, you were one of the first ones that had like a face in FPV that actually was like chill and cool and was just kind of like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah.
And when you start, you see people and you're like, oh, they're like so experienced and so cool. Yeah, so big. And what struck me about you was you're just so down to earth and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you bounce for a little while. And so I'm excited to see you come back because you got a chill, positive vibe for the community when so many in the community like to try and get so serious about what brands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, instead of just like, hey, it's a hobby, have fun,
Yeah. It should be fun.
So I guess the kickoff. So to kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself. Like, where did you grow up? Where you born? How did you, progress into FPV?
I feel like
big wide topic. Yeah.
So I'm a military brat.
Uh-huh.
And I reside in Idaho, and I ended up here because my ex-wife is from here, and we have 2 kids together. So when I separated out of the Air Force, I just kind of followed her to Idaho so I could be with my kids.
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's how I ended up here. And then
is it cool living in Idaho?
Is it?
I mean, I think from somebody that's never been in Idaho, it seems like it's kind of just a flat, not a whole lot going on place.
Where they grow potatoes.
Potatoes, yeah.
So, and hopefully not too many people watch this. I think Idaho is like the best state in the country, and I say that having lived all over the world. You know what I mean? Because we've got like desert right on the edge of town. So that's all BLM. So we can go shoot, ride dirt bikes, whatever. We've got mountains. So we can go ski, snowboard, ride more dirt bikes. We have national forest. We have everything except for ocean.
That's crazy.
And then the community is like super friendly, super welcoming. There's really low crime. It's got a little bit of everything except for the beach. And I mean, if you're into like a lot of culture, we don't have a lot of that, like museums and like all that kind of stuff in like big cities. But if you're someone that likes to get outside, I can't imagine a better place because we don't have humidity. We don't.
Okay, that's cool.
We don't have ticks. Like, I mean, not like the South. You know what I mean? It's just like to me, it's the best place in the world. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy because the perception of Idaho, it's just it's just a boring state. It's flat. They grow potatoes. There's nothing exciting. I never knew you had mountains. I didn't know you had desert.
People can keep thinking that then. If they think it's just like flat and boring and we grow potatoes, that's cool.
Like, stay away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't move here and mess it up.
Yeah, we're getting like we can't handle the population growth. So like housing is too expensive. Our roads aren't wide enough for all the traffic. Gotcha. So like it's already pretty bad.
I gotcha. Yeah, there's been a lot of movement over the last decade.
Yeah, everybody's like moving inland.
Yeah. I don't blame them one bit.
Yeah, and you're from Kentucky?
No, Arkansas. So I was born in Texas, and I wasn't a military brat, but the way just the way we lived. I was moving every year like I was in a military brat. I was in at least 2 different schools pretty much every year, all through elementary school, junior high, up until 7th grade. I finally set roots in Arkansas. But I've lived in Texas multiple times. I've lived in Oklahoma a couple times. I've lived in Arkansas a couple times. The second time, being 7th grade, I finally stuck, and that's where I've been. I love Texas, I'm very proud of Texas. But you know, kind of like you, this is where my friends were, and then married, had kid, and I wasn't looking to move my kid away from his mom, and I wasn't looking to move away from my kid. So been here for the last 18 years. Now he's 19, he's in college, and now I'm just kind of set in my job, and you know, my new wife, her kids are still in school. So it's like, I'll probably die in Arkansas. And Arkansas is not a bad state in any way.
Yeah.
But we got ticks, we got humidity.
Yeah.
You know, we have.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, we have some backwards ways about us, but we have a lot of nature. We've got the Ozarks, which is, I would say, they're hills more than mountains. You know, we've got some rivers and some waterfalls and things like that.
Yeah.
It's so populated. You can't really go mountain diving and things like that because everybody owns all the property.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we don't have a whole lot of national park.
Yeah. My wife, her part of her family is from Missouri, Kansas.
Okay.
And so I went there once a long time ago, and dude, like the humidity and the ticks, I was like, I'm never coming back here again. Like, you know, like that region, it's got a lot to offer in terms of like ideals, but just the ticks, dude, that was like enough to keep me out of that entire part of the country.
Ticks, mosquitoes. I mean, ticks, mosquitoes,
but like waking up with stuff stuck to your body, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. And like having to pick them up.
Yeah, you can go through a walk and you can come back and you've got 7 of them on you, you know?
Dude, yeah. Dude,
you wake 2 days later, you finally realized you didn't get them on once one's got you.
Oh man. I'm like,
That's interesting about Idaho. I would have never ever thought that.
So
I'm gonna have to check out Idaho out. So you get an opportunity to do some mountain surfing if you want to.
Yeah, so like from where I live, because I live like on the right on the edge of Boise, and so if I go south in 30 minutes, I'm in the desert. If I go north in 30 minutes, I'm in the mountains. Not even
crazy.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's sick.
And y'all got snow skiing,
dude. There's people skiing right now. 30 minutes.
So jealous.
30 minutes from my house. I can see the mountain from the window in this office.
Oh, that's pretty. I bet. Yeah, I went when I was a kid. My family vacation. Dad took us all to New Mexico. We went to like Angel Fire and a couple different ski resorts up there. I don't know. I guess I was 13-ish, something like that. I had the best time of my life. Like that was the first time I ever went snow skiing. I had to start out on the bunny, go through the little class thing, and then by the end of the day, well, what blew me away is what you see on TV is just the hill up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was trails all throughout the woods and stuff. Dude, when you get off at the top of the get off at the top of the mountain, you can take this leisurely ride around through the woods and you know, go up on the side of the hill and you stagger your skis and like, how did they get up on the side of the hill like that? And just go for a tour and just actually enjoy and have a blast. I miss it. I wish I lived somewhere like where you live, so you can go and enjoy snow skiing on a regular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it now. Like, it's like I did it a lot. I did it a lot. Maybe like over a decade ago, but it's really expensive, and it's just like, well, snowboarding.
Yeah, true.
It's hard on your body if you wreck a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet lift tickets like $75 for a day or something like that. Day?
Yeah, a day. Yeah. Plus you gotta drive up the mountain in your truck, so you're spending like $15 in gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just expensive. And
that's crazy. It's $100 a day just to go ski.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Because I think it was like 50 back when I was a kid.
How old are you?
My dad had a baby. I'm 52 now.
Wow. You look good.
Yeah, it was like
you're that old.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that. yeah, like, and my dad, I mean, I like when you're a kid, you're just like, where does your dad get all this money? You know, and then you get old and you're like, oh, he's charging that shit. But there was like 12 of us, and he was having to buy all the lift tickets, $50 a pop, 45. Yeah, yeah. Not to mention we drove. So he had a as back when Chevrolet first came out with the 4-door trucks, and we had the camper in the bed, and so the kids would be in the camper and the adults would be in the cab, and that's how we would road trip. And yeah, that was one of our trips. It took us up there snow skiing to New Mexico for I guess for a week, and it was a blast. It was a blast, but I can't imagine how costly something like that kind of a trip would be.
Yeah, that's a rich person's activity for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, and my parents they definitely saved up, I'm sure, for that. She one worked for Ford, one worked for Chevrolet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and you know, they I think they got some deals on some vehicles, and they were smart about their money and stuff like that. But anyways, sidetrack. That's crazy about Idaho. So how long you been in Idaho?
Let's see.
20 years, 15 years or something?
20 years. This is the longest place I've ever lived.
Same with me in Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah, before that, the longest place I'd ever lived was like 7 years.
Gotcha. I maybe a year for me until I hit 7th grade. It's just we went up. Sometimes we were financially stable. Other times we were dirt poor. Going from wearing, you know, not designer clothes, but like, you know, for kids, really nice clothes to freaking pro wings with holes in them. So like I went the gamut of all the levels of popularity and stuff. Like every school year, it was just, you know, I was in a different group of kids, and it taught me a lot about how not to take mankind seriously. Because I could go from one school and I was at the bottom of the pile, uncool, made fun of, and then I go to the very next school, same clothes, same me. All of a sudden now I'm one of the popular kids somehow. Like it makes no sense. It's just like, you know, don't take people seriously because they don't mankind doesn't make sense on a lot of things.
Right.
But are there many people in FPV in Idaho, or is it kind of like Arkansas where there's just a handful?
No, so like I'm kind of removed from it now, but we've got a pretty active community now. There's this dude named Brett, and he's linked together with some of the guys in Oregon, and they host a really big race out there every year. I forgot what it's called, but the community here, they've got a pretty steady group of guys that race like all year long.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I guess, I can see where the racing would help keep people close together.
Yeah. I mean, Idaho, we've had a small freestyle community, but it's always mostly been racing.
I can understand that. I think there's a small racing community up in the Ozarks, Fayetteville, Springdale area, close to the border of Missouri and stuff. But throughout all of the state, as far as people that make themselves known in, you know, socially through Facebook or whatever, I want to say there's probably about 20 that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And then I find, you know, a person here or there that has no interest in any of the Facebook groups, social stuff, or whatever, but they've been in FPV for 8 years. And it's like, I didn't even know you existed. You know, there's one guy that's doing some commercial work. He didn't even have a Facebook account. So it was surprising when I found him, but it was kind of cool. Cause it's like, it's more, there's more than what we see on the surface in Arkansas, but it's still kind of a loner hobby.
Yeah. A lot of the guys I noticed these days, they don't really care as much about like the social media, like self-promotion. They're just like out there having fun. And like some of that is positive, but then some of it I also view as like kind of negative because, like you're saying, other people don't know who else is into it. So
Right.
like, you know, like you think there's like one or two other people, but really like there's whole underground community. They just don't talk about it.
And like what was crazy. So there's this guy that hit me up this past week, wanted to know if I wanted to go fly. And it happens to be a guy that I went to school with back in junior high school. And we've been Facebook friends, but we don't really chat. It's just, you know, friends with a lot of high school friends, and we all just kind of see each other's posts, but we really don't communicate much anymore. But yet we have that bond, the anchor point. Well, he hit me up this week. I want to know if I ever wanted to go fly. And, you know, he never posts a single FPV video. He's never posted a picture of a drone, nothing. It just took me totally by surprise. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. So like next weekend, we're going to try to hook up. There's got to be a bunch of people out there like that they're just totally not into the social aspect.
Right. I mean, with freestyle, like, did you do a lot of racing or no?
No racing. I bought flags to do a course, but I haven't set them up yet, but no racing.
So like freestyle meets, they're like, you know, they're like a monkey on a football. Cause everybody's like freestyle guys are wild, dude. Like, cause they'll just like plug in on each other and then they'll just go like send it over traffic and like they're just crazy. But like race meets are different because everything's structured, you know?
Structured.
But like every now and then, like through the years, I would meet up with like just the group of freestyle pilots, and those dudes are nuts. Like there's no, it's just complete chaos. It's fun, but it's just chaos.
But Wild West, yeah. So like last summer, I had spent and I built what was the guy's name? Straw Hat Sam. He came out with a 6-inch build. It's a little bit awkward. Instead of the plates being horizontal, the mounting plates were vertical.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's not going to handle a crash very well because your plates are vertical, and you know you're going to get this action if you hit, but it's not meant to crash. It was a cinematic platform. It used the Sony RXO 2 or whatever with I can't think of what Iowa lens or whatever. So it's like in between a cinematic rig and a GoPro. You know, it's just one step up. And so I built it, and then I got, you know, my Sony camera on there, and I got my Iowa lens on there. And in Tennessee at a drift event, and it's the first flight I'm going to do with it. And as I'm up for 30 seconds, and one of the other guys plugs in on me.
Oof.
Even on my channel.
Ooh.
And so, so it plummets. It breaks the quad where I can't fly it at that point. It destroyed the camera.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I'm just like, didn't get mad or anything, but it's like, there's benefits to flying by yourself. Because your previous.
Yeah. That should have been like, was that like a paid gig? Or you were
no.
For fun?
Yeah, for fun. So it was my third time out there. The first 2 times I was out there, I was the only pilot there.
Oh.
And it's just plug and plug and plug, rip. You have the skies to yourself.
Yeah.
This time there was 4 other pilots showed up. Cool, let's have fun. I get to meet some people, blah blah blah. And we had a great time. But that was unfortunate because this rig I just finished building specifically for this, I got plugged in on, and it's like, well, damn.
Yeah. Chaos.
Yeah. I've never been to any FPV events or anything like that. I was talking to Jeff Hardy, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and he's putting up flying tines out in Florida somewhere, and I was very curious, like, how do y'all throw an event Like, how do you keep people from plugging each other? How do you handling analog, the walk snail, the DJI, And he broke it all down. I was like, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. Sounds like there might be a lot of downtime. Oh, yeah. Waiting and stuff like that. Yeah. Socializing.
Yeah.
But that's the trade-off to get to socialize, I suppose. How long have you been in FPV?
Like 10 and a half years.
Wow.
September.
Were you into RCs? Oh, wow. You remember? You didn't even know the date. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How do you know the date so well?
I was scrolling through my YouTube beforehand.
Oh, were you? Okay. Okay. Were you into RC before, or was that your first experience with RC stuff?
No, so I've been into RC since the 80s because my brother was into it. So we always had RC cars, and I've kind of gone in and out of RC cars all through my life. And then I guess it was in 2014, I was dabbling with RC helicopters. And I'm like, oh, this is like, this is way different than cars. It's super fun learning how to fly. And one day,
super difficult.
Line of sight. And one day I was on RC Hella Freaks forum, just looking up stuff on helis. And I saw a video from Brain Drain, Brian Morris. He posted, he mounted a Fat Shark like FPV camera on top of like a Blade 250 QX or something, and he was FPVing in the park in front of his house, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do that. It looked amazing. It looked like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing that. I dropped the helicopters and just like ordered everything from, I think it was Banggood. Well, I don't know if it was Banggood back then, but I ordered everything straight from China.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just dove in head first.
Was it you? Probably not much of a community back then for help and stuff like that, was there?
No, it was all on RC groups.
Okay.
Like everything I learned about building my first quad was from RC groups, that forum message board.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and there might have been a couple of YouTube videos, but not a lot. It was pretty rough.
Was it wood frames or was it carbon fiber frames at the?
It was carbon, because back then, in 2014, the Blackout 250 was like the frame to have. And there was a copy out of China called the ZMR 250. So the ZMR 250 is like what kind of exploded FPV, that Chinese frame. It was like $20.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 1806 motors, bi-blade props, individual ESCs.
So it had advanced, developed a little bit by the time you got into it.
It wasn't like Simon K or anything, but we were on whatever came before Clean Flight, Base Flight.
Okay.
I think it was Base Flight with Simon K ESCs. Quadcopters and FPV had been around, but 2014 is when it kind of blew up.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I didn't know. So as far as RC, obviously played a little bit when I was a kid, but then I, I don't know, partying and stuff like that. Dabbled a little bit with nitro, full drive nitro trucks and stuff like that. And I got tired of chasing the damn thing to flip it back over and start it back up every time I took a curve too fast or whatever. So I got tired of nitro and stuff. But then, the DJI started coming out and everything. And I thought it was cool looking, but I not cool enough to invest the money. I was like, okay, it's kind of cool, but I don't really get it. I mean, it slides up, down, slides left, right. It's cool, but I really don't have a use for it.
Not for FPV in general.
Before I didn't even know FPV existed.
Oh, you mean quadcopters?
Yeah, like drones, just drones.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew drones were out there. I didn't know anything about FPV. Never saw anything. I didn't even use YouTube. I mean, I didn't even, it's out there, but it's nothing interesting for me. So I never got exposed to anything. But then, I started seeing DJI drones and stuff. I'm like, cool, wouldn't mind having one, but I don't want to spend the money on one because I just don't see me using it for very, very long. Up, down, left, right. I'll get bored of that quick. Well, then they came out with the first mini, and it was like $399. And I was like, now it's at a price point that in a month or 2 months, whatever, when I get bored of it and put it in the closet, I'm not going to be that upset about it. And I'll pull it out once a year and play with it.
Yeah.
So when I got it, I was like, okay, well, this is a little interesting. Let me do some digging on how to take better photos or videos. And that's when I ran across my first FPV video. And I'm like, dude's got goggles on and he's flying this drone that does flips and rolls and these crazy moves. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And that started my who the video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was drone camps.
Drone camps. Oh, okay.
He gets a lot of hate in the community. It is what it is.
What's his name?
I mean, he had
Justin, right?
Justin something. I can't remember his last name.
He's a cool dude. Yeah.
He's been polite in the groups and stuff with me. He gets a lot of hate from the community. He may not be your forte, but he's still. I mean, he's sucking some people into the hobby. He sucked me in.
He puts out videos. Yeah.
He had 250 subscribers. So I mean, he's doing his fair share to grow the community.
Yeah.
And as long as he's not a dick to me, why would I be a dick back? But he's doing, I don't know. I think it was one of iFlight's first drones or something. And he's doing flips and flying under vans. And I'm like, whoa. And my first thought was, this is something me and my son can do together. My son's got to freaking love this. We chatted about this here and there over the years, and of course I start making my list and I'm watching videos and I'm fully engrossed for a month until I start purchasing stuff. My son's never showed interest, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I was lost from that point on after I saw that first video. Maybe it's because I saw Star Wars when I was a kid and, and for him, he's just grew up with all that stuff. So things aren't as impactful, but it definitely was a lot like flying the Death Star,
Yeah. Dude,
so
FPV is insane. It's like FPV is still to this day, it's gotta be the most exhilarating thing I've ever done. Like, especially like in a professional race setting. Like, I'm surprised I haven't had a heart attack. Dude, the adrenaline dump, it's just insane.
I can believe that. I can believe that. I never thought about that aspect of racing.
I mean,
oh man,
if you're a competitive type of person, you gotta try racing. It's like if you think back on your life at a time where you've been nervous or really nervous to the point where you're kind of jittery, it won't compare to racing a drone, dude. It's insane. It's traumatizing. It's traumatizing to your body. I'm not even kidding. Your heart rate goes through the roof. It's completely traumatic. And the guys that can manage that kind of stress, like Min Chan Kim, dude,
that's a good point.
Heads Up, dude, they're not even human.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I never really thought about that aspect. Okay, all right.
Yeah. FPV racing, it's all about managing stress. It's 90% managing your stress levels. If you can get over that, then you can race. But most people, they can't, dude. Like you see them get up to the line and their thumbs are just shaking. Like grown men, dude. They're just like, oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy.
That adrenaline has just got them jumping.
Dude.
All right. I'm going to have to break out my flags. I'm going to have to get the stakes or what have you and PVC pipes and get them set up and holler at some people and see if they want to, let's just tool around and have some fun.
Yeah.
I know when I'll be out motocross. So one of the things I love to do is there's several motocross tracks here in Arkansas, and I love to go chase. I love chasing. I know it's not the most, I don't know, what have you, but I love chasing drift cars. I love chasing motocross. I love chasing rock bouncers and stuff. I like the challenge of trying to stay in this right spot and getting locked in to somebody else that I have no control over. And how long can I stick it with them?
Yeah.
So with motocross, my watch, my Apple Watch will start warning me that my heart rate, your heart rate is whatever, and it's like, no, it's all good,
that precision flying.
Well, yeah, it's just it's a challenge because it's like you don't have any control of this person.
Yeah,
speed up, slow down, and what my favorite is, like everybody that races and all their family and stuff, they're like, can you get some of him and stuff like that? And you're like, I'll do my best. But the thing is it's generally the person in the lead that is the smoothest.
Yeah.
Easiest
to film.
Do what? Easiest to film, and because they're the fastest, and when they're slowing down for whether it's drifting or a bank on a track or whatever, they're hitting those things faster than most people do, and so it's easier to stay locked in with them, but at the same time that feed is still going by faster and faster, and you're still getting that adrenaline because you still are scooting.
Yeah.
You still are moving fast. So it's not like speed up, slow down. I don't know. I just love it. And that's where I get a lot of my adrenaline dumps from. And then, building go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. If you try racing, like even if you just set gates up at your house, just that stick time, that can only help your filming.
True. I mean, I know that. I know racing is the way to do everything else better, it's I was thinking about it 2 days ago. It's like I just need to come up with my process to quickly set up and take down my gates, my flags and stuff. Figure it out. Haul it around in the truck, set it up, because there's plenty of open fields all over, parks and stuff like that, all over Central Arkansas, for me to go set up for a weekend or whatever. I just need to go ahead and herp and get. I assume the flags are held up with PVC pipe and rebarb. You can go over the $20 stakes the fancy $20 stakes if you want to, but probably most are used with rebarb. Like the double decker tower, like how do you set that up?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to those are pretty extreme. Like the easiest thing that we always used were soccer goals from Amazon, and you just cut out the net because they pop open like a tent.
Okay.
So like me and my son would go out and I could set up a track in like 5 minutes. Yeah. You just pop out all these soccer goals and just drop them in the grass and you're ready. Yeah.
I've got some of the half moon yellow fold up ones that pop out.
They're like that. Yeah.
I think it's good. Yeah. And I've got about five of those. Sometimes I'll put them on. My neighbors love me. I'll take a couple and put them on the roof with sandbags, and I'll leave them up there all summer. And I'll, and I've got some of those orange orange cones. They're not cones. They got the handle on top, but they're real thin and cylinder, but they're the orange, cones with a real heavy base. Water companies use them to block off roads and stuff. Yeah. I set those all out through my yard with orange marking tape, and it's out there all summer, most of the winter and stuff like that. But that's usually racing little whoops and little 2-inch Hornet and stuff, like 3-inch Hornet and stuff like that. I really want to race a 5-inch or something out in a big field, try and get really fast.
Yeah,
that's got to be a lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna have to work on that. I've got these flags. I've had them for 2 years. They're still in the box. I'm gonna have to work on that. We've got 10 acres back behind where I work. 10 open acres. Yeah. The problem is it's hay, and I only have it mowed twice a year. Oh. Because it's $1,600 every time I have it bush hogged. Ooh. And then within 2 weeks, it's high enough again that if you crash, you're going to have a hard time finding your drone. Learned my lesson back when I started. I was like, nope, I'm not going to fly out there again. 2 days to find a drone. But I've tinkered around with the idea of picking up a 0-turn mower just so I can maintain it myself.
Yeah.
Just to have race gates set up, and I can leave them up there. I don't have to take them down, have my own little adventure park behind work. And my boss, they wouldn't mind. It's just an open field.
Nice.
But I might try and do something like that. So are you pretty much a lone pilot these days, or do you have anybody that you fly with?
Well,
you're just getting back in after 2-year hiatus.
Yeah, I just started flying again like 2 weeks ago. I mean, like I'm connected with the local race community. Like they're racing tiny whoops today. They're probably done now. And I'm just kind of keeping track of what they're doing because I might try to race 5-inch again this year. And I'm sure.
You ever fly tiny whoop?
Yeah. Me and my son did like 2 years ago. We did one race in like January, and like we practiced for it really hard and did one race, and then we just like stopped again. Like I don't like analog.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I was wondering because you don't have hardly any whoop content like before you took your break. Like I can't remember seeing you like the Hornet's like the smallest I think I've ever seen you.
Yeah.
Discuss and talk about and stuff.
Yeah, I mean I've got 2 like newbie drone tiny whoops, and like I said, we raced them once. Like I bought a second one for my kids, got them set up with like ELRS, and then we practiced in the house for like a couple of days, and we went to one race, and then we just like stopped again. Like I can't like I've never really liked tiny whoops or analog.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
More power to them, but
I feel you. I think I'm kind of a liar as far as like I was out flying again today, playing with the 04, and I know nobody, you shouldn't fly freestyle in 4K 60, but maybe after the newness wears off, I'm like, well, let me get serious about latency again. But I've never been a latency
snob.
I don't know, snob. Yeah, it's like I think you just adapt. I mean,
and you're flying like ELRS, right?
Yeah, 500.
So, yeah, what a lot of people don't think about is like, so the video latency, if you're flying at 60 FPS, it's like 40 millisecond. But when you're using ELRS, which is 2.5 milliseconds, it all kind of goes into the same pool. So 40 milliseconds flying, crossfire is going to feel way worse than 40 milliseconds in flying ELRS, because it all ties in together. Mm-hmm. So, like when I fly freestyle, flying at 60 FPS, it feels fine. Like, and I'll go back and forth to race mode. And for freestyle, I'm not seeing a huge difference. I'm sure in racing, it's a huge difference. But for freestyle, it's not like I'm not going to get stuck in a tree because I'm flying at 40 millisecond latency.
Right. Right. Now, I feel a little bit of a difference when I go into race mode. And it feels good, but it's not like
clean.
It does. Yeah. But it's not like we're talking about such a lag that it's like,
you're gonna hit somebody's dog. Yeah.
But I'm still formulating my opinion because, like I said, I keep hopping around from 4K to 1080 to race mode to 2.7. So it's a little jumbled up, as far as like I'm not flying. What I should probably do is fly a full day on one setting and then, or at least give it a few hours on one setting and then go to another setting, whatever. Yeah. Like every flight, I'm changing it up just because I'm just so intrigued. I'm feeling it out and stuff.
A lot to like figure out.
Mm-hmm. So I do like whoops. The Beta Flight came out with the Air 75 and 65. And
okay, Beta FPV.
Yeah, the Air 75 and 65. Like it's the only analog I can fly because it is so much fun. It's so light and it rips so well. And basically, if I understand correctly, several of the racers worked with Beta FPV to bring forth the Air 75. But outside of that, I can't do analog. And I'm almost to the point now with the 04 that I'll probably never fly analog again on a whoop because the 75 millimeter with the 04 does so well.
The 04 light.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's still 10 grams too heavy for 75 millimeter. But I mean, you got great digital. It's 700 milliwatts.
Yeah.
I'm still experimenting with that. It doesn't. I gotta do another build because the current build I've got seems to have less penetration than my 03 and my Vista in the warehouse where I work. Mm-hmm. But I'm suspicious that it's the board I'm using. So I want to build another one and check it out. But other than a 65, now analog is relegated to 65 millimeters only. And hopefully in the next iteration of the 04 light, whoop, whatever you want to call it, I'm hoping like it's going to be 5 grams lighter. And now I can sacrifice analog for the 65 millimeter. Yeah. I really considered selling my analog goggles these past couple of weeks. I really did, but I think I'm going to hold on to them because I do like to fly 65 millimeter from time to time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's funny. After we did that whoop race like 2 years ago, like those two quads, they just kind of like the quads, all the lipos, I bought new chargers for them. Like they went into a box and they've just been sitting on a shelf for like 2 years.
I hear. I mean, it's smarter. It makes everything cheaper if you just focus on 5-inch or something. You know, whoops add more expense to the whole hobby and more headache and complication and stuff. But
yeah,
are you still RC crawling?
I haven't done that in a while either. I've still got all my crawlers, but I got a new motorcycle 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of like took over the crawling.
Gotcha. Have you been, I think you said something about you're doing some bike camping or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Moto camping. Yeah. So like, I'll just like ride out into the desert. That's like 30 minutes away and just like throw up a tent in the middle of the desert. Or the last time I went with my buddy, we rode up into the national forest in the mountains and just camped in the woods.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do your boys go with you? Are they into that or no? Or
Well, I mean, my smaller kids, they like going for rides, but my older kids, no, they don't like, they're not at a point where they can just like throw down money for a motorcycle or anything.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm like,
Gotcha.
yeah, I need to get to a point where I can just like buy a couple of dirt bikes and start taking them out there.
How many kids do you have?
4.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
marriage.
A lot of bikes.
Yeah. FPV is cheaper.
Yeah. Are they still all at home, or some off to college, or what have you?
No, the 2 older boys are out of the house. One of them just like lives like right down the street, and the other one kind of bounces around, but they're both in their 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's in the second year of college. His first year he went to I'm proud of him. He all through junior high and high school, I just had him figured that he's not going to go to college. He hates school so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to do it. And so I was, college is good, son, but if you're not going to do that, maybe consider going to a trade school, getting a trade of some sort, something.
Mm-hmm.
And after he graduated high school, his girlfriend talked him into going to a little community college here, a little farm community college here, called, not too far. It's one town over, called BB, and it's just a farm town. And he went through his first semester there, and he did good, which I was pleased. I was surprised he was going to stick through it, because being in a community college, there's no excitement. It's just work, school, home, work, school, home, no social life, stuff like that. He'd see his high school friends every few weeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, him and a couple of his buddies decided they wanted to go to move to this college town called Conway here in Arkansas, and they've got 3 colleges in this town, I think. And I told him, go. I mean, I think you'll stick with school this way. It's more social. You'll make some more friends. You'll meet some girls. Just I think it'll help reinforce you staying in school. So he moved up there, and like he changed overnight, like in a good way. He decided to rush, and he's taking. I always kind of had a negative thought about fraternities, party animals, Animal House, that kind of stuff. But he rushed, freaking loved it. Met a girl, they're in love, so tight. The other aspect of fraternity life that I wasn't thinking of, wasn't expecting, whatever, was the aspect that teaches him how to be professional. So in my job, from time to time, we have winter. Every year there's winter and summer meetings, and all the shareholders come in from around the United States. All the vendors come in, and it's a 4-day thing, and it's all networking and all these breakout sessions and stuff like that. And it's something that I've always felt a little fish out of water in when I go. Basically, the fraternities, the managing side of that, he's rush chair. He's in charge of trying to, find ways to get more people to rush. They have a I don't know what you'd call it. They have a big meeting each year, and then the leadership for each of the fraternities go and they do whatever they're doing, whatever. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. It's teaching you that other aspect of business profession, the networking, the meeting and talking to strangers and all that stuff. I'm like, okay. All right. I've got a different opinion on fraternities than I had before he went. I thought it was just all chase and tail and getting drunk, and for some, I'm sure it is. For him, he's seeing that opportunity for leadership, and he's going after that aspect of the fraternity.
Okay. It almost sounds like corporate training.
Kind of. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. Okay, go. He's doing good in his classes. He's got all A's. He's met a really cute girl that seems to have his best interests at heart. They seem to be tight, having a good positive relationship. And he's getting this leadership experience on the flip side of it too. So I'm just thrilled for him because a year earlier it was just school was a chore.
Yeah.
And you came home and you played video games till you had to go to work, and see your friends every couple of weeks. And now, he's just every day's an adventure for him. So
nice.
I'm thrilled for him. Yeah.
Good.
I'm thrilled for him. How long you been vaping?
Oh, geez. 15 or 16 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the same for me.
Yeah, we quit smoking together with vaping.
So the second time I quit smoking, vaping is what got me off of it.
Permanently, yeah.
Permanently. So the first time I quit smoking, it was all mental, and I was just like, I'm done, and I quit cold turkey, and I didn't have a problem. But then went through I don't remember what it was, but went through a stress period, and I'm like, screw this, I want a pack of cigarettes, and smoked for the next, I don't know, 6 months, got through that or whatever, but just kept smoking for about 6 months. And then I was like, it's time to quit again. But I had a hard time giving it up the second time. Wasn't being so successful. So I switched to the vaping, which that was an overnight thing. It's like, I don't stink. It tastes good. I can do it in my living room. I don't have to step outside when it's freezing ass cold and stuff like that. But I've been kind of thinking here recently, like, I think I'm kind of getting shortness of breath.
Oh.
And so I've been kind of thinking about maybe trying to put it down, get off of it.
I mean, do you do any cardio?
Well, no.
That's just old age. That's just old age.
Sex, walking to the truck, grocery store, chasing drones, which crashed.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back up on my cardio just because I never have. Yeah,
I plan on doing that this year. I think I'm gonna get a treadmill or a bike or something for the house, because last year I started having to get serious about being pre-diabetic.
Okay.
I freaking love sugar. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to become diabetic and then have to deal with all that. I still want to be able to partake with sweets without any danger from time to time. So I better slow it down versus be forced to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, lost 15 pounds just by changing my diet, cutting out fast food for the most part. Most fast food, cut out a lot of sugar, other little things, switch to wheat and stuff like that. Got to keep going on with losing some weight, but also want to add in some cardio. And I figure I can probably convince myself to get on a treadmill or something and watch whatever favorite TV show I have easier than going and walking at the park or something. I'll work towards that,
Yeah. Do you lift any weights?
No.
So
I hate all that stuff.
So if you're gonna do one or the other, lifting weights is much more important, especially as you get older. Yeah, like muscle mass correlates to everything in your body as you get older. So like the more muscle mass you have, it like slows down diabetes, Alzheimer's, what's it called when your bones are brittle?
I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, like, so most people, like, once they get into their mid 40s, 50s, 60s, they don't realize they need to strength train, and that's when you that's when you see people like ending up in like assisted living and shit.
Yeah.
Because they just like they stopped being physical.
Well, and you need to, you should stretch, stay flexible, there's people that are so I watched a Kung Fu master. I think this was 20 years ago. He was 75, 80 years old. And the things that he was doing, it's like, it just shows you, I agree. You do need to work out. You do need cardio. You do need to stretch, because to fight off the aging. But like, he's 80 years old, 75, 80 years old. And like, he stuck one leg straight out. So he's doing this. And he squats all the way down to his butt. His butt touches the floor and raises himself back up with just this one leg.
Oof.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's he's going to have a good old life because he's keeping his body, I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I got to start doing something, starting with diet. And then I'll work in some low key physical, because I always hated working out. I hated track. I hated it.
Do you have like body pain that you deal with, body aches?
No.
That's good.
No. Yeah. No, nobody. I've always been blessed with really great health. The Lord has really given the main blessing that every human being really needs and deserves is good health. And he's always given me that. And I'm sure partly because I didn't beat up my body in wrestling or football and MMA and stuff like that. For one, I didn't have a whole lot of broken bones, a whole lot of sprains and stuff like that. But now I'm too lethargic at my age, and I gotta get moving if I don't want to be, decrepit when I get old, which I don't. So I'm slowly taking steps towards that.
You're like, no, I'm not.
Well, I mean, the physical side that's this year's goal. Last year's was starting to change the diet. Like, so I meal prep every week now. I'm still learning what's better meals to meal prep, to try and continue on the path of losing weight. I walk about 6 miles every day.
Oh, wow. Nice.
But that's not, I mean, in the warehouse, but that's not strength training. And that's not at a pace that keeps my heart rate sustained for a while. It's, walk here, chat with somebody, it's bursts all day long.
I mean, that's still a lot.
It is. But I got to do more. So lost 15 pounds this year, and I'll keep working on it. I'll keep focusing on losing more weight. I'm going to add cardio this year, and I guess I'll start thinking about working myself into some sort of strength training.
Just do some push-ups.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in like 2020, right before COVID, dude. I was like in such good shape. I was like, it was nice.
I've never known what that feels like.
That was the first time like that. So I was 40. I was in better shape than when I was like 20 in the military. It was good. And then COVID happened, and I came home and just got fat again.
You served?
For like 4 years in the Air Force.
Which Air Force? Right on. Appreciate your service.
Oh, thanks.
Huh. I guess I should assume that being a military brat that you would probably do that.
Yeah. I pretty much grew up around it.
Was your dad in the Air Force too, or your mom, whoever?
No, my dad was he he was a civil contractor for the Navy. He was a Marine for a few years, but then he got like recruited into civil service for the Navy. So we were around Navy bases.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I gotcha.
And like Navy people, which are weird.
Are they?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like the Navy's like the weirdest branch. They're super weird.
Why is that? Just introverts? They
No. I mean, you think about like a group of people that live together on a boat.
Yeah.
For months at a time. And they sleep in like not even bunk beds, but like these little shelves.
Mm-hmm.
And they live like that, dude. They're weird.
6 to 12 months. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. The like Navy's weird. And like like everybody's got their stigmas. Like the Air Force is like lazy and pampered. The Marines are dumb. The Army they're grunts. In the Navy, they're like, and I say this like somewhat sarcastically, but they're like deviants.
Okay.
Because they're cooped up together on a boat for 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, it's just they're deviants.
I tell you what's crazy is those submariners.
Oh, dude.
You know, I can't imagine 6 months underwater.
That'd be insane.
You know?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, not at all. and then to hear this thing creaking and stuff, like no.
Oh no, that's
you can't feed me enough lobster and stuff to make that worthwhile.
I bet they get paid well, but
get paid well. And I always heard that they get fed really well. Like lobsters and steaks and stuff.
Yeah, they probably come off of a tour and like have a fat check waiting for them. It's like it's the same thing for like when you deploy to a war zone for like 6 months to a year. You come home and you have like a fat check because it's all tax free.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
wow, I'm surprised they did that. They should.
Those guys make bank when they deploy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not spending a dime on anything, are you? I mean, I guess there's a little commissary on the ship.
Well, I mean, unless you have a wife at home that's spending all of it.
Well, yeah. That probably happens. It happens quite a lot. Yeah, I don't think the Navy is the branch I could go in. This the idea of being stuck out in the middle of the ocean. You know, the ship sinks and you're just out there. No, I can't.
That
I don't think I could ever
happen very often. But like sleeping on a rack, a shelf, no privacy.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be better than I don't know. It might be better than a foxhole. I don't know.
I don't know. I've slept in a foxhole. It's not that bad. It's just dirt, dude. Oh, was that
DJI
your goggles?
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
straight into DJI because, like, obviously that's what I'm looking for is the best video experience possible. And like still today, like I know I should fly in 4.3 if I want to be actually technically proper so I get the best field of view for flips and stuff like that. But that 16:9, like I've been flying 4.3 on my G3s, but I went out test flew one of my cinema builds that I built a couple months ago, but I haven't test flown it. I flew it today. It's still on the 03. And so I put my G2s on for the first time in a few weeks, and they were on 9x16, and I'm like, this is just what I like. I just like this 9x16. I like the full immersion, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little vertical and a little latency for that experience. And for me, logically, I'm like, how do people not want that full immersion? To me, that's what FPV is like that full immersion.
I don't think it's a matter of people not wanting it. I would bet at the end of the day, it mostly comes down to finances. either finances or like personal hangups, like with your ideals, like in supporting DJI as a company, which is, it's stupid when you think about it because most everything comes from China. But I think I think at the end of the day, like for the people that are outspoken against, it probably is rooted, I would guess, in finances, because the DJI goggles are a pretty penny.
They are.
The air units are really expensive.
They are. I mean, there's a lot to say that why not use the light on 5-inch builds now?
That field of view, man, it's too narrow.
Yeah, but I mean,
unless you want to take a heat gun to the lens and swap out the lens, like
some people are doing that.
That's crazy. And like so far I've seen 2 people do that, and when they put the aftermarket lens on, it's like super fisheye.
Yeah, I can't handle that.
That doesn't seem fun either.
No, but I would suspect that somebody's going to come out with a replacement lens.
Yeah.
An aftermarket lens, I think. And there may be a lens out there now that you could swap out that wouldn't give you the fisheye effect. I don't know. I'm not going to go down that road. I'll let somebody else experiment.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, somebody just has to find it.
Yeah. And they will. But I don't know. $109 is kind of appetizing. Give up a little bit for that price,
I mean, I'll buy 3 Air Unit Pros before I buy any of the lights. The lights aren't enough of a step for me to like consider. Like when they announced the 04 Pro, I was like, oh, like dang, like the latency and the sensor size. I was like, oh my god. Like when the 03 came out, I was like, oh, that's pretty nice, but I like didn't care that much.
But the 04 got you back in.
Yeah, dude, the 04, I was like, holy crap. Like that's huge.
I think what's amazing in the 04 is now you can, and I'm sure the hardcore racers are still going to prefer to fly, HD0 or analog, what have you, over DJI's race mode. But the fact that for a novice, we get to go through all those variations, all those different options. And then, Evan Turner just did that video, and it's like, what was it, 1/10 of a second or something like that?
Yeah, it was like, it was a hair.
A hair, not even 1/10 of a second. And it was probably because the field of view was too small.
The field of view was terrible. He couldn't see anything.
Right.
Oh, so, jeez.
But see, I don't think that field of view is as terrible for freestyle. For racing, I would just, he knows his shit. I would have to believe him. But freestyle, I'm sure it's not ideal for freestyle. But if you're the average freestyle guy like me and you're just mediocre, it's probably not the end of the world. And if you lose your quad, it's $130 cheaper now compared to,
yeah, for like,
and you can go for a 3-inch now,
I mean, I'll stick an 04 Pro in a 3-inch. I don't care. 3.5 inch. Like, I mean, we did it with the Vistas, and this is true. It's only like what, 5 grams heavier than a Vista, I think. It's like
yeah. It's crazy when you hold the 04 in your hand. You're like, this weighs nothing.
There's nothing to it. Yeah.
There's nothing. The camera is half the weight.
Yeah. My next build is probably going to be a 3.5 inch because I miss flying those micros.
Yeah. I want to. The gentleman that did the Hornet, I don't think he's still selling that frame anymore, right? His website is still up.
He's not, but he did get the 04 and a pair of goggles 3 recently, so he's probably going to come up with something new.
I know his website is still up. I've gone and checked on it a couple times. I've still got both of my Hornets. I still love them.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about maybe putting the light on them.
Oh yeah.
But the camera, I mean, the board weighs nothing. The camera is so much more heavy than the naked, just the board itself. It's crazy where DJI has gotten us to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy, like how many different like variations of goggles they've come out with, like in the last 5 years. Like they evolve so quickly.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily understand them all, but I guess, I'm sure they're doing market research and they're trying to provide goggles to the different niches,
Yeah.
I can't imagine flying anything else. Every time I play around with the HD0, every time I play around with Dax.Neal, to me, and I'm not trying to diss or anything like that. It's like, if it's not going to perform as good or equal or better than the leading thing, I don't really see much of a purpose other than, I guess, maybe like you said, budget. But freaking HD0 goggles are more expensive than DJI goggles.
Yeah, I mean HD0, that's like, people view that as like the hardcore racers goggle. Like I don't know why you would ever get those for like freestyle. And it's always been kind of funny to me, and I know I'll probably get some hate for saying this, but I feel like 80 to 90% of racers, they go out and they buy HD0 and they buy like specific brands of motors and ESCs. And, I'm just sitting here like, that's not going to make you faster. Like the kind of like fractions of a second that you're chasing, like that's reserved for like 1% of people, like heads up. Like the stuff that heads up and Min Cham do, like they're not human. Like especially Min Chan kid, he's crazy. And like if you're just racing at like a club level and you go to nationals and you go to regionals, most of the time it's not going to come down to your gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like these guys are like chasing lap times with money. In most cases, it's not going to work out that way unless you're one of the top 1%. Like like I've always felt like unless you're up at that upper echelon, it's not going to matter. Like people are,
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're just chasing lap times with money. In 20. Oh, sorry.
I feel like it's gotten, how do I say this? So, forever analog latency was the
Standard.
The standard. That's the best. And now, and HD0 has less latency. Can you notice the difference between analog and HD0? Because at some point, latency is so low that the human body can't pick it up.
Well, I mean, like in that video that Evan dropped, he couldn't tell between DJI and HD0.
That's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
Talking 4 milliseconds versus 20.
And what's crazy is he could tell that Bardwell's radio is on 250 hertz versus 500.
I think it was 25 hertz.
Was it 25?
I think it was like 25. It was really, really low.
I thought I heard 250. I'm like, damn,
I think that's 25. So it probably felt awful. Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and watch that. I thought he said it was on 250.
So I took in 29, I think it was 2019 still, when the V1 system came out. I took it to a drone race and I had 3 analog quads, race quads, bottom lipo and everything. And then I had my 1 HD quad, which was huge. It was like a 6-inch frame with a top mount battery. It was like 500 grams or something. It was huge. My lap times on the HD quad were way faster than analog, just because I could see where I was going. Yeah. So like I ended up that day, me and the other guy that was fast, we ended up doing the final race with HD because we were both faster with it. And that was the V1 system.
I believe that. I think seeing it makes up for a lot of
latency.
There's been, it'd be controversial, but I remember 3 separate pilots went out and did laps with DJI, and they were. Some of them came in faster than they did with. I don't remember if they did analog or HD0. I think 2 went up against their analog kits, and they actually were faster just because they could see better. And then I think what's his name with Rotor Riot?
Drew?
No, the racer, blonde kid. Blonde man.
Yeah. Alex.
Yeah, Vanover.
Yeah.
He did a video too with, I think he was doing it comparing between HD0 and DJI, and he came really close with DJI as well. And it was like, DJI, my take is, not being a racer, was like, y'all definitely could incorporate DJI into the race scene. It's a preference y'all don't, probably because of logistics. Now you got to have, you got to start doing what the freestyle guys do. You've got these heats with analog and HD0, and you got these heats with DJI, and that probably adds time, and I don't want to do that, whatever. But like, it appeared that it was good enough in the V1 stage that you legitimately could have done a league of DJI racing. But now
they definitely could have. Yeah.
But now it's like, with that video with Evan Turner and Bardwell, like, the interference was so minimal, at least between the 3 of them. It's like, y'all may not really have much argument against letting DJI pilots now in and race.
Right.
Which would be interesting to see when you get the top pilots like Evan Turner going to try DJI. if he gets the field of view, like, in a race where the adrenaline's pumping and he's serious and stuff like that, like, where do the links land at that point?
Right.
I don't know. I just think analog is probably almost on its deathbed.
Except for the whole factor of like the barrier to entry. Because for,
sure.
Yeah, somebody in their 20s discovering FPV, they're like, oh, I can jump into this for $200 or $300. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. I keep forgetting about that. I mean, I did just build a 5-inch with. So I've seen some people do videos, and they're doing, build a 5-inch for 150 or whatever. And so I look at it, and it's like, yeah, but those motors were, that tech was out before I even came into the hobby. And I'm like, can you do, I don't know. I'm like, you're telling people to use some off-name brand stuff that's probably not going to be reliable, and and stuff like that. And I was like, can you do one? What price point can you do a 5-inch analog build today with a name brand components, more modern stuff? And so pretty much did all Speedy B. I'm not the biggest fan of Speedy B quality, but I have to assume it's better than some brand I've never heard of that you just see off of AliExpress.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can build a 5-inch for $150 and get into the hobby. $60, $100 used goggles, brand new if you get box goggles. Then a $60 brand new $60 controller from Radio Master. It's not a bad deal anymore.
Right.
Hey, I mean, you can do. I mean, what was it? You could buy G3s for $500. You could spend $109 on a 04 Lite, a $60 ELRS radio, and you still have like $300 to go before you break 1,000 for the build. Well, it is, but in the grand scheme of things, I'd say it's gotten cheaper to get started if you want.
It has, yeah, especially with like Radio Master and ELRS. That's a big part of it.
I freaking love ELRS. I'm so appreciative of ELRS.
Open source, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just what those guys did, freaking gifting that to the community. I mean, now I can fly my whoops and I don't have to solder on a Crossfire nano receiver and a T antenna on my little 75 millimeter whoop. It's on the board. Right. That's the coolest. And then I probably don't need it. I'm sure it's overkill. I'm absolutely sure it's overkill. But I've got a few frames that it's going to hold a Naked Black Magic, or it's going to hold a Z-Cam or what have you.
Oh, geez.
And I just feel like, why not take better precautions against a fail-safe and interference and stuff? And the fact that now you can have ELRS pumping out a 2.4 and a 915 hertz signal simultaneously. Did you know about that?
Is that with the GX12?
Yeah.
Wait, it transmits on both signals at the same time?
Yeah.
How does that work? What?
It's magic.
What the heck? And so the receiver's picking up both signals at the same time?
Yeah, you can do on both.
So I haven't even seriously considered that radio because it's got small gimbals.
I mean,
they're like micro gimbals, aren't they?
It feels the same. They feel the same to me as
like a Boxer or something.
They're a hair smaller than the Boxer, but I don't necessarily know if the throw is. Let's see if you can see that.
Yeah. I thought I saw something about how they don't have full throw because they're small gimbals.
I haven't noticed a difference in the throw.
Okay.
And then, it may be. I knocked the battery out. Cover.
You thumb or pinch?
I'm hybrid.
Okay.
One on top. I'm a hybrid. Now, it may be the stick ends from Evan Turner 533.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bearing in here, a horizontal bearing, and so it rotates like this. And so when you're moving, you know how the top of the stick, as you're flying, you can feel the stick rotating across the base of your thumb, and then sometimes it can work its way to where you have to re-grip.
Uh-huh.
With these stick ends, they just stay in place. The part that you're holding does not move under your fingers, if you will. It just kind of rotates. It feels a little odd. I'm getting used to that.
See, I thumb, so
I wish I'd never switched to pinch.
Oh, you switched to pinch.
Yeah, I started out thumb because I came from playing PlayStation and Xbox and stuff, and that was natural for me. In some ways, I think I have a little bit better control, but in some ways, it limits my flying, because when I pinch, my full extension in is not comfortable. It limits my ability to do a full deflect into my hands.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
When I'm pinching, whereas I'm thumbing, you get a full 360. But I feel like when I'm thumbing, I might have some more micro jitters, if you will. I'm more steady, but I have limited pull into my palms.
Gotcha.
And so what I've been using the Jumper T20. I bought it used from a guy because I thought, let me just try this, because I heard it had you could adjust the throw in all 4 directions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got it from a guy and freaking fell in love with that, because I could adjust the throw in, and so that I could hit full deflect into my palms much easier than on normal radios. But now I'm giving that up on the GX12, but I don't know. I just wanted to play with the GX12, and
nice.
I think the antennas look cool. Have you seen the antennas?
Yeah, they fold out.
No. On the receiver.
Oh, no.
Check this out. See if you can see that.
What? That's
2.4.
What the heck?
Yeah, and so the receiver. So this build here that I'm working on. So this receiver, see if you can see it.
Uh-huh.
It's got dual antennas.
Okay.
You put 2 of those on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I hope you saw that well enough.
Yeah, I did. That's crazy. I guess I didn't realize it. I knew that it did both signals. I didn't realize it could do both dynamically. I thought you had to like pick, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it can do simultaneous.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I just yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like technology, and it's another place to blow some money on this hobby.
Yeah, I think radios are my least favorite part of the hobby. I hate messing with radios.
I did too.
They freak me out.
I did too. I think like I will never ever do a video on a radio, because they're complicated and stuff like that. Whatever reason, when I got this GX12, it was the first time that I set it up, and it was just like 10 minutes I was done. Like, it's super smooth. I'm like, oh, have I finally cracked it? Have I finally figured out? At least,
to be fair, ELRS does make it really easy.
I think it does.
Yeah, you just go to the configurator and download your build and flash it with your password. They make it pretty easy.
I still see people hitting roadblocks with it, and I'm at the point now where I think people are getting incorrect information, and it's making it difficult that's the roadblocks they're hitting. So a guy just posted last week, screw this, screw blah blah blah, da 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 da, and I'm like, bro, it's literally 10 seconds. Like, you don't have to bind anymore. You can bind if you want to, but you don't have to. And I think people are getting bad information, old information, things like that.
A lot of it, and this has always been a problem, a lot of it is with younger generations, call them like the YouTube Shorts generations, where they're not conditioned to absorb a lot of information. And so that's why you see so many people in the groups ask like the most basic questions, when they could have just watched a 10-minute YouTube video. And I think it's like systemic amongst the younger generations, where they just don't have the attention span to do any research. Yeah. So like FPV, something like FPV is really hard to get into, because it takes quite a bit of research, unless you just go buy like an Avata. But and that's like the main reason I even post YouTube videos, because I feel like I can make things a little easier to understand sometimes. But even then, like, people will go into my videos and ask questions that were answered in the video. Yeah. I'm like, bro, watch the video. and then you
Yeah.
don't have to like ask me in the comments.
Right. Yeah, I had. Go ahead.
No, I just think that's like it's just going to get worse and worse as people get younger.
No, I could definitely see that because I see the difference in. I mean, I've seen my attention span change since I was a kid, going from you only got cartoons on Saturday morning for 4 hours. You had commercials and everything. Everything was much more analog and slower to now. Like, don't show me a commercial. I get frustrated if you drop a new TV show out. Yeah. If you drop a new TV show out and you release an episode each week and you don't at least drop 3 in a week, I get frustrated. I'm like, what is this shit? At least give me 3.
Yeah. Everything is just instant access now. It's crazy.
Yeah. And growing up, like, we were the last generation that we played outside on our bikes and drank from water hoses. And when the street light came on, that was time to come home.
Yeah.
My son and all his friends, I mean, they pretty much grew up in his bedroom and, video games and stuff. I mean, once they got past like 6, 7 years old, like they didn't play outside much anymore, but I think there's a lot of, I don't know, maybe there's old videos on ELRS, stuff like that. Cause like some of I just can't fathom how they're having such a hard time. Cause a lot of the headaches that were there initially aren't there anymore. Like,
right.
I'd say, I'm just making this up, but just for reference, 1 out of 8 receivers I would buy brand new out of the package, for whatever reason, the manufacturer flashed it with the Wi-Fi off. Well, now I had to freaking connect the FTID, whatever they call that thing, the FTID or FTDI thing. Yeah. You solder the wires onto it and plug into your USB port so you can flash it. Like, I haven't come across a receiver like that in over a year. It's like a lot of the little headaches aren't there anymore. I think sometimes people's Wi-Fi networks or Wi-Fi card in their PC doesn't like the receiver, and it's not really ELRS. It's their hardware. And they're getting frustrated at the wrong thing. But once I found this little $20 dongle from Amazon, like, now I have my Wi-Fi, my PC Wi-Fi is connected to the internet. That little dongle is connected to my receiver or my radio. It's a 10-second flash and I'm good to go.
Nice.
I think there's an easier, I don't know. I think people are getting the wrong advice from people or something on it, because it really is super simple. I think I wasn't happy when they gave people the option to bind on the receiver, like the boot button and stuff. I'm like, no, that's I lost. Sorry, give me just 1 second. I lost my headphones. Bluetooth connect. Okay, cool. Sorry, I lost connection when I changed glasses.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're Bluetooth. They got speakers to the
wow.
The Meta Ray bands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I used to have to wear headphones like you or earbuds. Now I just use my glasses, and so nice. I don't have to put anything in my ears or whatever. Nice. Yeah, they're pretty dope because the AI, I can care less about the AI. I don't use the AI too much, but the ability to be listening to a podcast at work or listening to music or something like that and interact with another person, I'm not closed off. I can hear the surrounding world while there's a low volume overlay of music or a podcast or a YouTube video I'm listening to and stuff like that. So
nice.
it what's the word? Not incorporate, but I can't think of the word. It gels with real life real easy because you can turn it down and nobody can hear it, and it's just a soft little
interesting
podcast going on in the background or whatever. Yeah, I do it a lot when I'm at my desk doing a lot of desktop work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I was talking about the bind button. Like I didn't like it when they gave us the bind option back. You always had the three plug-in power cycle option, but when they started giving us the boot button, I'm like, no, you're going backwards. We want to go forwards. The passphrase is the way. Do you use the passphrase or do you bind?
So I've done both. It's funny because when I built my 04 quad, so I built it with my TBS tracer because that's what I had last. And then I went out to this huge park and was just flying around with the 04. And I got like, I don't know, like 2 football fields away, dude. And I was getting like low LQ on my tracer. And I was like, what the hell? Because I'd never, like, when I got the tracer, it was like right before I stopped flying. So I never really tested it. And I was getting low LQ in like a park. And I was like, what? And I already had ELRS in my kids' radio. So I got home that day and I just like swapped the modules and swapped the SD cards. And that just worked. I was like, oh, that was super easy. And then so I had a new ELRS receiver like in a bag that I've had for 2 years. And I was like, oh, I've already got a receiver. So I stuck that in the quad. And it took me like an hour to figure out how to bind the receiver. Like I was trying the 3 power cycles and for some reason it just would not work. And so like, am I going to have to like flash my whole ass radio right now? So I ended up reflashing everything with the passphrase and it just worked. And I was like, I should have done that an hour ago, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, the passphrase is just so simple, you know?
Yeah. Initially it was a nightmare. I was like, I can't bind this thing. What the heck? Yeah, I was like, I wish I had a boot button. It didn't have a boot button. And so I'm like sitting here like, and dude, it would not go into bind, and I was getting pissed. I was like, ugh, yeah. So yeah, I just had to reflash my radio. I was freaking out. I was like, I'm gonna reflash this thing and I'm gonna brick it and something. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if maybe it's an older firmware or something. You know, maybe not the same firmware or what have you.
So no, so like I updated the firmware on the receiver to the firmware that matched the radio. I knew to do that.
Okay.
Even then, I still couldn't get it to. I just couldn't get the receiver to go into bind mode with 3 power cycles. It just wouldn't do it. So I just had to reflash the receiver again and the radio just to whatever the most current version is.
Gotcha.
But yeah, even then, like flashing ELRS is pretty easy.
It is, and they've gotten real good. They've gotten a lot better at naming the targets more clearly. Like it used to be much more engineering worded or what have you, and I could see where back in the originally I could see where people would get confused on which firmware to choose, but even now it's much more logically named. But and generally, I mean, if you don't know, you just go look up the receiver or what have you on the website, and it tells you down in the description what the firmware name is, or you know, if you use Wi-Fi, when it connects, it tells you on the screen what the firmware version is. You know, I think that there's just some little things like that somebody new overlooks, and they just get lost in the, well, what am I supposed to select? Take a breath, you know, scroll down, look at the bottom of the configurator. It'll tell you what the firmware is, or if nothing else, go back to the website that you bought it from, and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I think ELRS was a big jump forward. It's less expensive. It performs
lower latency, better range. It's like just does everything the best.
Yeah. And the fact that it's on loop boards, you don't have to add a receiver anymore. Like, that was revolutionary.
That's why I bought an ELRS module, is because when my kids wanted to like fly the tiny whoops, I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to buy a new tiny whoop, and it came with ELRS, and I was like, I'll just go over to Amazon and buy a cheap little module. It was like $35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're never out of a receiver that you can buy.
Yeah.
It may not be the main brand that you go to, which is the other thing I try to advise new people, is like, maybe try and stick to a particular brand and model, so you don't have added confusion at what the different targets for what have you. But you can always buy a receiver now, where with Crossfire it's like, well, shit, everybody's out.
Yeah.
And I was buying 4 at a time or whatever, because you knew they were going to run out at some point, and you didn't want to be stuck without one.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about that as much anymore.
Yeah. And then even, it's like, I've seen videos of people on 2.4 ELRS, and they're flying like 15 miles. I'm like, you don't even need 900 megahertz unless you're doing like some serious long range, like
long range, maybe some bando.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy. ELRS is nice.
Yeah. It really did break the whole mindset of 915 was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
2.4 was inferior, and then you get it and you're like, oh, because me personally, I haven't noticed any penetration
issues,
loss in penetration with 2.4.
Yeah.
I just know that they say 9 has better penetration for like a bando environment or whatever. And now I'm kind of like, well, now I can do both simultaneously. So I guess I'm just going to go that route.
Your radio link is always going to go farther than your video.
Yeah. And I'm not really going to be in an environment where I'm going to test it. I'm not a long range, half a mile. That's as far as I will ever want to go, but I don't have mountains. I wish I had mountains. I would mountain surf, but for everything else, 99% of everything I do, I don't want to walk a half mile to pick up a down quad.
So have you, like, something that I was kind of paying attention to, but I never got a chance to try, was the Betaflight GPS rescue. Have you played with that?
I haven't played with it. No, I've done a few builds with GPS, but nothing new with the new capabilities.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. So last night I was like sitting there, just kind of bored, like around 9:30. I was tired, but like you said, I was like, this is my time. I need to do something with my time. So dude, I went in the garage and I took my old 7-inch and pulled the GPS off of it, stuck it on this quad. And so, yeah, I'm going to play with that GPS rescue on this 5-inch quad, because I watched a video of a guy and the quad just like landed in front of him by itself. I was like, that's insane. And he's doing it without a barometer, without a compass. He's just using GPS. Mm-hmm. Like, that's insane. Like, I definitely want to play with that.
Have you seen UAV Tech's recent videos on the GPS capabilities?
Not recent, no.
To take a look at some of his new videos. I'm trying to think. So, like, you could be upside down and you can flip your GPS on, and it'll write itself, and it will stay in position. It'll hover in position.
So there's like a position hold.
Yeah.
I want to play with that stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah.
To imagine that stuff on a home built quad. Like, yeah, I definitely want to geek out on that. Like, I'm so irritated that it's raining because I can't even like check to see if I'm getting satellites.
Right.
You know,
you don't in your house. You can't get a couple.
Normally, no. Normally,
I can usually get a couple.
I would normally have to like set it out in the driveway on a clear day. Yeah.
I did pick up. I picked up a new GPS unit at M10 because I was the build I was showing you with the ELRS receiver. I'm going to put it on there, but instead of mounting it to the frame itself, I figured since that frame could either fly with just the 04, it could fly with an action camera, the naked Black Magic, or the Z Cam. I figured I would just come up with a different GPS mount, if you will, for each of those scenarios, and I would just have a removable harness that I could plug and unplug. That way, it's not permanent. But I haven't got around to it because I want to play. I'm with like you. I kind of want to play with that because it'd be kind of cool to, on something like that. But it'd be kind of cool on just a regular 5-inch or whatever, just to have it just hover. And like we couldn't do that a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, you can always do that kind of stuff with like iNav, but doing it with a quad, that's insane.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the cool things about the Avata 2. I bought it to do some work with because I was like, this thing's going to be really safe around people. If I'm out at the river and I'm flying for the city or whatever, they're doing pops on the river or what have you, this thing will not fall out of the sky. It's actually going to return to me, or it's going to position hold if I want it to. There was one guy that was a viewer that was doing a video on the Avata 2. He flew over the ocean, and there was I don't know if you saw it or not, but there was a cropping of rocks that had a hole through them. And as he flew through the hole, he lost connection. He lost video. The Avata 2 stopped, turned 180 degrees, flew back through the same hole to the point where it lost video. And at the point where it lost video, that's where it initiated return home and started flying back because it knew, hey, if I follow my steps back to where I lost video, that's a safe path. And he flew back through the hole in the rocks and then initiated return home. And when it started flying back, he got video back and took it back over.
That's crazy. So like
it's so crazy.
It knew that if I return to home here, there could be an obstruction because I lost connection.
Correct. I made it one way, and it uses the visual cameras on it to try and retrace its steps back to the point where it lost video connection because it knew that was a safe path, and then it started to rise up and fly back.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. We're going to have that on quads not too far in the near future, I think.
But yeah, just the idea of having like position hold and like return to home landing, like I could nerd on that for like days. For sure.
They've already got LiDAR that we can put on them, small enough that we could put LiDAR on them. Like it's not too far to think that they wouldn't be able to integrate LiDAR to do. Yeah, when they decide they want to and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They probably will. I'm surprised that they're putting forth the effort in GPS that they are, because that's always been like the last whatever the word is, that frontier that they really they didn't mess with a whole lot, but it's like they're starting to show that area some attention.
Heck yeah, that'll be fun.
I've done some GPS in the past, and it didn't work all that well for me.
You ever messed around with wings?
No.
Yeah,
I haven't done any wings.
Wings with iNav Like I wouldn't mind building another wing. Like that might be something I do with an 04 in the future. But with iNav years ago, like you could set it to return to home and it would fly back to you and then just circle.
Oh, that's cool.
Like it's not going to auto land, or maybe they do now. But yeah, it would just like circle above you. Like so with a wing,
cool.
like you could send a wing out as far as you want to and never worry about losing it. That's cool. Yeah, they fly forever.
I've got one. I've never finished building it and stuff. I need to. TBS, they just came out with a new wing that looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I'd probably get like one of the dolphins. The Adam RC Dolphin. Those look decent enough. Wings are fun because they they just like cruise at like 70 miles an hour. Cruise like while sipping amps. And then you know, like they don't fly like a quad, obviously. You have to like, you know, bank and roll. It's pretty fun.
Well, I've been thinking about it. What I've got is the I don't know if you know what it is. I think it's called the T1 He Wing. It kind of looks like a plane, you know, and it's got a little carbon. Yeah. They're on to another generation of it now. I think it's T1 He Wing.
It's a VTOL.
No, that's the new generation they've got out now. That the VTOL version. Mine, you have to hand launch.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about maybe putting an 04 in it, and maybe taking it. Yeah, maybe taking it up to the Ozarks and.
So you've got one, you just never built it?
I haven't built it yet. No, but I'm thinking about putting an 04 in.
How long have you had it?
A couple of years. It's hanging up on my wall.
Dude, what the
heck? I'm so into quads. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's my real first serious adventure into anything RC other than the nitro. Yeah, the 4x4 nitro trucks I had in the past. And like I said, that was fun for a little bit.
Yeah. Have you ever like been around people flying wings?
No.
That's what it is. Because I went to Vegas. We went on like it was like an FPV tour to promote Drone Nationals in 2016. So it was a bunch of racers, freestylers, and wing pilots, because back then they had wing races in Drone Nationals. So we're out in Vegas with all these cliffs and stuff, and like the Team Legit wing guys were there, and dude, wings are like, you know, they're like bombing these cliffs and stuff, and wings are crazy because they have like a single prop and they just scream. Like it just sounds like sirens. Dude, it's like it's pretty intense. And like, you know, they're not as maneuverable as a quad, but they just like, if you see someone fly one in person, they're insane.
Well, I suspect I would enjoy it because like with the 04 right now, with the 04, what it's inciting me to do right now is more scenic flying and not really freestyle with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I can imagine putting that in a wing, and that's probably going to be a perfect pair.
Oh yeah.
You know. Oh yeah. And you know, in the fall when the colors and stuff to be scooting across tree lines, like I'm just
Dude, yeah,
I think that's kind of what I want to shoot for.
Yeah, like right now I'm like sitting here like I need to build a 3.5 inch a wing, maybe 2 race quads. I'm like, this is gonna cost so much money. But like, yeah, a wing with an 04, that would be like that. Yeah, that'd be good. That would be so good.
I'm I'm gonna have to finish mine now. And see, I'm like, I need to take my 7-inch off the wall. I need to totally redo it because I want to 04 in it. You know,
What 7-inch do you have?
it's what's his name? Falcon Rad.
Falcon.
He has Falcon Rad. He has a 7-inch frame that he designed that he then went to Chris Rosser and talked to Chris Rosser, and Chris Rosser gave him some design advice. And so it kind of, the updated version kind of mimics the first Gen 1 of his AOS line.
Okay.
The Falcon Rad has some arm supports similar to the first generation of the AOS.
Okay.
I think it's actually Falcon Rad. Whatever the name of his frame is, AOS. Because I'm still. I saw that you built an AOS, which you got me intrigued. See, I'm still on the first gen AOS with the
braces.
Yeah. And now he's gone away from it, and he's gone to a new style that you built, which makes me really want to build his V5 version.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit more durable than this.
Yeah, the arms. I mean, the arms are pretty thick. Like I don't know what they are, but they're like they're chunky. And it
looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it feels substantial in the hand. Like, so I don't have a lot of concerns of it breaking. Yeah, it feels pretty substantial.
I like them because they're a pretty clean build out of the gate. I'm not a master tuner. I still struggle from time to time. So for me, I like the fact that it's given me a helping start from the get-go because it's got a pretty good sound profile and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're easy to tune. They fly clean. Yeah.
Even if you don't tinker with the tune, you just go with defaults, it's still good. But you can definitely lower the filters. Generally, you can lower the filters and stuff, and not run much of a risk where some other frames have been a little bit more challenging for me.
Yeah.
Some I'm just like, I can't figure out this tune. I don't know if I'm going the wrong way or what, but I can't, and end up not using that frame. But I don't know. I've been on the AOS. I don't know. I guess he's been out a couple years.
I want to say he got popular after I stopped flying. Like it was around the time that I stopped flying, because I remember hearing about him, but I never tried one of his frames.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so maybe like 2021, 2022.
Yeah, something like that. So that's been my daily driver since then. And he was on his Discord, he was helpful. He was answer questions and stuff like that, which was kind of cool because he would help with some tuning advice for people and stuff like that.
Oh, good.
You don't get that with every frame,
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing another 7-inch too. I don't know. It would be in between like a 7-inch and a wing.
Might as well do both.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna be broke.
Yeah, I was looking at my wall and I'm like, I've got these frames up here that I'm not going to fly again. Like, should I cannibalize them or update them to an 04 or something? I don't like selling a whole lot of stuff, because sometimes the person you sell it to is new or what, or I don't know. Some not everybody's the most honest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And selling can lead to a whole lot of headaches.
It's annoying. Yeah, it's annoying.
It can be. Not everybody is experienced and honest. You can sell something and now they have a lot of questions on how to get it set up, and just like, Whew, okay, buddy, let's do this because you don't want to leave somebody high and dry.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I've ever sold anything from FPV, it's only been within my community. And so it's somebody that at least knows what they're doing.
That's smart. That's smart. I've had like one case, he was a real nice guy. I built him a whoop, test fluid, everything's fine. I would leave the test flight video on it so they could see it when they got it. It was like 2 days after he got it. He's like, "Hey man, I haven't had any crashes. Just, these wires popped off. Da 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 da. Do you mind fixing it for me?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, absolutely. My bad, dude. I apologize. I didn't. I thought I had it squared for you. And then when I get it in, first thing I always do is I plug it in and see if they left any video files on. And then, there's every flight he's had. And I'm like, well, here's the crash that caused the damage, And I'm like, and so I didn't say nothing. I'm just like, okay, now you've moved over from this list to this list. This is the beware list. I'm gonna go ahead and fix it for you. But, we probably won't be doing any business ever again,
Jeez.
Yeah. So now I try. I don't really sell a whole lot unless it's brand new. Yeah. I'll sell some used stuff, but I generally don't, because I've got stuff I would like to liquidate and reinvest into another 04 or something like that, but I don't think it's worth the headache a lot of the times.
Yeah. I've got two RC trucks for sale right now, and they're not moving, probably because it's like winter here. They'll probably move when spring rolls around, but they're like, I've got them listed for like $600 a piece, and that's like, it's dirt cheap because they're like race truggies, so they're like, you're looking at like $1,200 just to build them. So gotcha. they're dirt cheap, and one of them I built for my son, and he, like, by the time I built it, we like got bored of RC cars. So gotcha. it's like brand new. Just sitting in my closet.
Do you have any FPV trucks or cars, anything like that?
No, God, no.
No? Not your thing?
I never got the point, because anywhere that you can take an RC car, you can take a drone.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And like, you're just like shaky video unless you put a gimbal on it. Like, that would just make me puke. Like, I understand like why RC car people do it, but I don't understand why drone people do it.
Gotcha.
It's like, yeah, if I want to like follow a path with an RC car, I can just do it with a small drone too.
Yeah. It was ALRS, and one of the coming future updates, like right now, you have to purchase this device in order to take your 03 or what have you out of low power mode when you arm, because you don't have an FC. ELRS, they're working on the firmware, and they've already showed videos where when you arm it, it will automatically activate the 03 and 04.
Oh, nice.
Just from the ELRS receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Do you do it?
ELRS. No, not yet. I'm waiting for the firmware. I've got one that I've got the Gen. I know it's Gen 2 DJI technically, but for FPV Gen 1, I've got a full-sized air unit on an RC car up here. And I've got the LRS MT12 radio controller. So I'm waiting for them to come out with that. Okay. I'll play with that a little bit more, but I'm predominantly just drones. I mean, that's it's kind of like what you pointed out. Just, you can't do flips. I mean, I guess you can do flips with an RC truck, but I mean, you're pretty much one dimensional with an RC car versus a drone.
Yeah, and unless you put a head tracker on it.
Yeah. But that's probably going to get broken from wrecks and stuff like that. And I guess that's kind of why I've never ventured off into a wing, because it seems kind of like one dimensional. You're just always going forward. But talking to you now, I'm kind of like, I'm probably overlooking it. And now with the 04, like that's probably a perfect combination. So I'm gonna break that T1 down.
Yeah. Wings are like wings. They give you the same kind of like rush as quads. They're just faster and they can go farther. And they could just like sustain 70 miles an hour.
I see. I never thought about them being faster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, way faster. Like a 7-inch. Like a 7-inch. Let's see. 7-inch, you're probably cruising at like 40 or 50 miles an hour. 7-inch quad.
Oh, okay. So you double that
without dumping the battery. A wing, like a big wing, is hauling balls.
So you're kind of doubling that. Okay.
Yeah. All
right. I gotta do that. And then when you land, you just freaking belly land it in the grass.
Yeah, you just glide it in.
Glide it in, disarm just before it hits the ground. Just let it. Whoop.
Yeah.
Okay. Watching people.
What's that?
Watching people hand launch those things is crazy.
So iNav has auto launch. Like as long as your trims are set up correctly, you just grab the plane and just throw it up in the air, and iNav gets it up for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you just like pull your goggles down.
Oh, okay.
While iNav is like flying it into the sky.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I see dudes do like their shot putting at the Olympics. They do a 360 spin and sling it out there. I'm like, how many times are I gonna get that wrong before I get it right?
That part is tough. Like you used to have to do that before iNav, where you had to hand launch it, and then you had to hand launch it, gain altitude, and then pull your goggles down. That's pretty tricky. I've crashed a lot of planes like that.
So on the wing, you would suggest going with iNav for a wing?
Oh yeah. I mean,
only way to go.
I don't know. Does Betaflight support wings?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's always for wings. It's always been iNav, and iNav, like, what is it? 2025. I mean, iNav was doing return to home, position hold, all that stuff. 7 or 8, 9 years ago. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, cool. Then I get to. I mean, I've looked at iNav and I've watched some of the videos on it, on how you configure your motors and stuff like that. Just out of curiosity. Cool. I get something else to learn. So 2 years ago, did you just get bored with FPV, or do you just come in and out every so often, or what?
2 years ago, no. So I didn't so much get bored with FP. I just got really heavy into crawling. So I guess it's kind of cyclical. Like I just got heavy into crawling, and I wasn't really like, there wasn't really a racing community because of, I think it was mostly because of COVID.
Okay.
So yeah, I just got like super heavy into crawling, and I was kind of like over the DJI like V1 system by that point.
Yeah, I gotcha. Was that your first pause in FPV since you started it, or?
No, I took a break in like 2018.
So about 4 years in. Okay.
Yeah, because so like 2016, 2017, that's when I was like racing a lot, me and my kid. And the company that I worked for here locally, Thrust UAV, they like, this company, like they do like STEM programs, but they also had a branch called Thrust UAV that was for drone racing. And so I worked for Thrust UAV, and they fully funded my racing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
but when FPV, like, it wasn't really lucrative at that level like they were hoping it would be, so it kind of like fell through the floor.
Gotcha.
And so once that happened, I just kind of like stopped racing as much. And I think 2018, that's like when I started getting back into RC cars.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then DJI came out in 2019, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
FPV's cool again.
Was it 2019 when DJI came out?
Yeah, like the summer of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
FPV time is it's crazy. It's like when I go back and look and see when I started, I'm like, I feel like it's been 10 years, not 5 or what have you, you know? Like,
yeah, I was thinking about this because I was on Facebook because I posted my AOS build in like one of the FPV groups, and somebody's like, oh, I just built this frame too. It's my second build. And I was like, it's your second build and you're starting with this technology.
yeah.
Like when I started FPV, dude, we had Fat Shark. I think they were Predators, but the field of view was like 30 degrees.
Wow.
Like it was like you were looking through a tunnel at snow.
Wow.
Like they were, dude, it was so bad. But to me, it was like, this is so cool. And to imagine people are starting with like goggles 3 now, or you start with like the V1 goggles, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like you didn't go through like the trials and tribulations of like early analog FPV.
So when I started, DJI was out of stock.
Okay.
Right. Cause it just launched in if I remember correctly, it was a few months. It'd been out for 2-3 months, something like that, when I discovered FPV. So like, it was out of stock. Like, you know, I mean, as most things are today, but like couldn't find goggles anywhere. It was you could order, but they're on back order.
Mm-hmm.
I could get an air unit, but it was on back order, stuff like that. So while I was waiting for all that stuff to come into stock and get shipped out or whatever, I went ahead and I did an analog build. I wanted to hurry up and get in. So I bought a pair of analog goggles, and my very first build, it was either the TP3 or it was a 5-inch, both analog.
Mm-hmm.
My first 3 builds was a TP3, a baby tooth, and a 5-inch.
Nice.
Analog. And, you know, I was cutting my teeth on the headaches and stuff, trying to get all that to work or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, I flew, I think I flew that 5-inch. I believe it was a couple months before the last of my DJI components came in. Mm-hmm. And then I could start on my first DJI build.
Nice.
Which, if I remember correctly, I built 2 Bang Gods, Catalyst Machine Works Bang Gods.
Okay.
I call them Zeus and Ares. I was so excited about FPV. And then at that point, other than my TP3, my baby tooth for around the neighborhood, and, you know, if we went to IHOP to meet people for dinner while we're waiting, I'd be in the parking lot flying my TP3, you know. Outside of that aspect, I pretty much was just flying DJI 5-inch, 24/7. I was lost for about 3 years. I mean, my wife, bless her heart, I lived and breathed FPV 24/7 for 3 years. Like,
oh, you mean like it was unhealthy?
I mean, yeah. It's very. It was. I went too hard, but I knew when I find something I really like, I consume it. I want to know everything there is to know about it.
Yeah.
And, for me, FPV is far too broad of a hobby to even after all these years, I still don't know everything, and I never will. Like I said, I'm still not a master tuner, and many people probably figured that shit out in their first year, right? But I mean, from the time I woke up till 2 a.m, I was just building and printing stuff and just out every weekend flying. If I wasn't with a group of people, locals to fly, I'm out by myself. I'm driving all day trying to find some abandoned building somewhere. My wife was very, very, very patient and cool and supportive.
Good.
Yeah, she really was. She really was. And on the flip side, I tried to. So we've been married 2 years now. We've been together for just over 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she was really. I hate it. It sounds probably odd, but it's one of the ways I knew that she was awesome, because she saw how much fun and how much I chased it. That and she wasn't like putting roadblocks up and ultimatums and stuff. She was just really, really cool. Yeah. And I tried to make sure that when we had time together, that I wasn't on my phone in beta beginner 2 FPV. I'm like, I need to pay attention to you, because I don't want you feeling like you're not important. That way I can continue on this path of fun. And I guess now at the whatever your market is, I'm finally starting to, and it's not that I'm bored or anything, but I'm finally leveling off where it's like, I can balance things out. Mm-hmm. Like I still have all my little projects that I work on a daily basis. I got bags of projects over here that I put all the parts in, and then come back around to them. A part finally arrives, pick it back up where. But I still watch my FPV videos and stuff. But now I'm looking at other sources of interest and fun on top of it. And it's just not all FPV, Yeah. And sometimes it worries me that I'm going to get bored and then what am I going to do with my life? But I think, because FPV really did. It changed my life, in a positive way. Cause previous to that, it's pretty much just work, home. I just, mow the lawn, clean the house, cook something, TV, go hang out with some friends every once in a while, work, It was just very routine and stuff like that. Yeah. And then when I discovered FPV, it was just a whole nother world where I was learning all this stuff. Right. I was learning CAD, learning CAM, learning 3D printing, learning some electronics, trying to learn some PID controller, meeting people from all around the world that, I'm talking to some dude from Turkey. This is crazy. Yeah. So it just really was an exciting, Yeah. It's
definitely the most, it's definitely the most unique hobby I've ever had.
It has to be. It has to be the most unique hobby out there. Yeah. I mean, I imagine RC car guys and stuff like that, they probably end up chatting with some people from around the world, but I just can't think that you're chatting and giving help and receiving as much help as you are in any other hobby. I don't see it in volleyball or golf, photography, whatever the other hobby is. I just feel like that's probably on a next level with FPV.
Why do you think that is?
Something about it inspires, in my mind, a unique culture. it's it's universal. I mean, it speaks out to that segment of society that has that adventurous skater, what have you.
Like punk rock.
I mean, kind of, but yet there's tons of straight laced, people in there as well. The social has the look of that, but there's all walks of life in it.
Yeah. I think what it is it's the nature of everything being open source. Because when you look at the RC car community, they get everything spoon fed to them. Like if you just buy this expensive ESC and this expensive motor, your car will go fast. Buy these expensive lipos, or you can just go into a hobby store and buy a Traxxas and it's ready to go out of the box. You don't have to do anything. With FPV, you spend so much time online researching and seeking counsel. It just makes for such a tight knit community because everybody is constantly helping each other. With surface RC, everybody just goes to a hobby store and buys a Traxxas. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
There's none of that interaction.
There's like if you buy an Hobby Wing ESC, it's a finished product. There's no tinkering with it. You just go and install it. Versus here, you got pilots creating ELRS. You got pilots and just people that enjoy coding or whatever. They're doing beta flight, emu flight, KISS. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like any other hobby in the sense that it forces you to get out of your comfort zone and learn things you never expected to learn and seek help from people you would not normally associate with. So
the opportunity to
this crazy diverse community that's just like thirsty for knowledge. It's super cool.
And I would venture that the manufacturers probably aren't active in RC like ground FPV. Like they are in FPV.
No.
Okay. Like, the sales reps and some of the sales reps are like, hey, we see you're getting popular. Why don't we do a collab together and make some money?
How can we make this better? Yeah.
Like the Air 65-75, like they worked with 4 or 5 different Whoop racers and it came out with the Air 65, which is really great for us non-racers because the damn thing out of the box just rips. It's so lightweight. It's so I don't know. It's just a joy to fly. That all makes sense.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was watching one of my old videos. Like since I've got back in FPV, I've been watching a lot of my old videos. And I had a video on the Meteor 75. I don't know. But it's funny because I said in that video, like beta FPV is like they're pretty impressive because they're more concerned with improving the product for the community than they are about just making sales. Because the first product I reviewed for them, I like bashed the hell out of it. I was like, this thing's not fun. I don't like it because it was a tiny whoop. And I was just like, I gave it a pretty negative review, even though they sent it to me for free. And even after that review, they were still open to, having me look at some of their other stuff. So that was pretty impressive from them.
Well, I'll say this. My opinion on beta FPV has changed over the last year and a half. When I started not knowing anything, you tend to take the advice of the community, and I felt like at the time beta FPV didn't have the best rep. And then as I started to get some firsthand experience, I felt the same way. Like you might get a module from them, an ELRS module, whatever, and it could have some firmware issues, or they would leave it high and dry and they would move on, and now you're kind of stuck. But over the last year and a half, my perception is that's not the case anymore. They're much, as you pointed out, I feel like they're really trying to be very community, interact with the community a lot, and they're doing some pretty good products out there. The Air 6575, I freaking love. I've got their Meteor 7504.
Oh wow!
And it was fun to see the 04 on a whoop like that. That came from a manufacturer, because I've done the 03, but it's different when you have legit engineers in deep pocketbooks working on that kind of a project. It didn't last past the fourth crash, unfortunately. The little camera, there's a clip that clips onto the camera, and then it's suspended by 4 rubber bands from another base, so it can free float. And then that second base is actually where you run the screw through the canopy into it, and that's what holds it in position while the main camera can float freely a little bit. Unfortunately, it didn't handle the fourth crash very well, and the clip that holds the camera, it actually broke and chipped off. And then somehow damaged my 04 Whoop board. So I had to send the camera and the Whoop board in to DJI to get it repaired. This little isolation thing they've got going on.
Just trying to.
I don't think it's
jello or.
Yeah, now and it still had a little bit of jello on it, on the footage, but it also had a little bit of prop wash. So I'm not quite sure if they nailed the tune just right. Yeah, if that could be tuned out. I didn't check to see if the ESCs are on 48 kilohertz or not. I will once the 04 comes back, but it was still pretty ingenious the way they had it kind of suspended with these 4 little, I don't know what they are. They're just like these little, like it's a ball with it's a ball with a loop on it opposing ends. Okay. And they just kind of go over these hooks, and so it just kind of free floats. And I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. That's pretty smart. I think it would be great. It's great for general flying, which is generally what I would do with the 03 75 millimeter. General flying. I used it. When I'd go out to basketball tournaments and I'm chasing kids on the court. They'd have 4 courts going, 2 teams on each court, and it'd be all day thing. And you got parents and toddlers and everybody running whatever. I'd fly my little 75 millimeter 03 because it's super quiet. The kids freaking loved it. They weren't scared. It's 4K video. I think that's probably a better fit for it. Just general flying around, stuff like that. Not so much racing and freestyle. Right. Because the unfortunate part is, so you've got your AIO supported with grommets. Then you've got the 03. They gave you another set of grommets. So it's grommets sitting on top of grommet. And then you've got the canopy that goes on top. And to tie all that in, they give you like a 9 millimeter, 10 millimeters washer head screw. Oh. And so there's a pivot. It's, in those joints, it's not going to handle an impact to the canopy very well. Yeah. So you just need to kind of do with it how it's designed. But the fact that we're getting to that point is pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay. I got to rebuild my 7-inch. I got to finish this wing. I got to play with GPS.
I think the next thing I want is probably a 3.5-inch, because what I'm finding with this quad, with this 5-inch, I just fly in front of my house a lot for like tuning and stuff. These things are way too fast for that. And like,
Yeah.
like without having a spotter, like I'm constantly just looking out for people that are like walking their dogs or checking their mail. Like I don't want to kill one of my neighbors, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like with the Hornets, like you just like freaking send it, let it rip.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at worst you might scratch somebody, but you're not going to like chop their whole head off.
No. And it's got a lower noise profile where a lot of people want to, well, less people, not everybody's going to hear it. Whereas a 5-inch, 3 blocks away, they hear zing, zing, you know what I mean?
So I was flying at the front of my neighborhood yesterday, this huge park. It's not huge, but it's big enough. And I did like a full punch out, which I don't normally do in front of my house. And I just heard it like echo in the apartment complex that's next to the park. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I forgot how loud these things are. Yeah.
So like my neighbors have all been great,
Yeah.
As I gained experience, I realized, I probably shouldn't fly, even though I'm, 20, 30 feet up. I probably shouldn't be flying over people's houses, because now I understand what a failsafe is, because it just happened to me at the park the other day. And I would sure hate for this thing to hit somebody's car, fall in a pool, just something, just land on the roof and have to come explain what happened.
Yeah.
So, now I just go down the street, and all my neighbors have been totally straight, really cool. I don't feel comfortable anymore flying my 5-inch around. They've been cool with me for 5-6 years or whatever, but I don't want to be annoying. So I try to stick with my toothpicks, my whoops, 3-inch on down. I try to do that around my house, just because, I still want to have that freedom to be able to do that. And eventually something's going to happen with the 5-inch. There's going to be a fail safe or something, and it's going to land through somebody's windshield or something. And I just don't want to be that neighbor. And then, thankfully, go ahead.
No, there was this one time years ago, probably like still 2014 to 2015. Like, I think I was like on my second build. It was still like a Chinese, like ZMR 250 or something. And I'm just flying, and there must have been like a wire that was like fraying against the carbon or something, just because of like my limited build practices back then. But I was just flying, and like thankfully I was over the street in front of my house. That thing came down and caught on fire in the middle of the street. Ooh. I was like, oh. That's the last time that's happened. But yeah, something like, luckily it didn't land on a car, didn't land in the grass, didn't land in somebody's yard, like
some leaves. Yeah.
Just got like mega lucky. Yeah.
And that's the stuff you don't know at first,
Yeah, at first, yeah. Like when you're like building and you've got like a rat's nest of wires. Yeah.
And you don't know that you don't recognize that a lot. The way I look at it, a lot of our components, I mean, other than I'd say DJI, our components are hobby grade. Now, in that, you have some more solid brands. Like I really trust Hobby Wing ESCs. They're strong in the RC car world. They know what they're doing. I've had one die in the last 4 years compared to when I started, and I was buying every new stack that came out, T-motor, newbie drones, iFlights, all stuff. And like every 3 months I got an ESC burning out. I'm thinking that's the norm or whatever. And then I finally discovered Hobby Wing, and I'm like, I haven't burned an ESC out in a year. At first you don't know which brands are more trustworthy than others.
Now, I think I would say I don't know how to phrase this. I I would say that most FPV electronics are reliable now. I mean, even for like the past 7 or 8 years, I would say that you can buy any brand of ESC flight controller stack from AliExpress, and it's going to be reliable. Like the components are so built up now. I would say it's like if you're like killing ESCs a lot, not you specifically, but people in general, I would say that's most likely going to come down to build practices. Because it's like it's really hard to kill electronics. Like it's I would say that's going to mostly come down to build practices.
So I will say, so not disagreeing. I would say, since I've been flying hobby wing ESCs, I am probably not as in tune with the quality of ESCs that are being put out today versus 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will say 4 years ago, I will disagree with you that I definitely felt that some brands were less reliable than others.
Like
not necessarily. Well, I didn't think iFlight. I know they have great marketing, and I know their stuff looks good.
Yeah.
I found. Let me. So in my first few years, I did go through a lot of money. I was just building, and I was, every new little ESC, every time there was a new firmware upgrade for TBS, for new beta flight. Yeah. I mean, I'm just constantly buying and upgrading and crap. I went through all my COVID money buying and crap. I'll never go back and add all that crap up. At that time, I would say, and I'll say this, I felt like my builds were clean. I was past the first year and a half mark where you don't understand wire management as well and stuff like that. I would say there would be a 20% chance that I was going to have a iFlight stack die on me. Not the FC, but the ESC.
ESC, yeah.
The hobby, same with some newbie drones, GEP RC, stuff like that. I felt like everybody was pretty much in the same quality level. You got DJI, which is like pro gear, but then I found Hobby Wing. I think Hobby Wing, Reaper, and maybe like Acon. I feel like those still today are probably the most reliable ESCs on the market. But I say that with a grain of salt because I've really strictly been flying anything over 3 inches. It's been Hobby Wing, so I really can't tell you how that applies today.
See, in this thing, I've got a this must be like 4 years old, but it's a newbie drone Infinity, and it's a 2020 stack.
I had an Infinity. I had 2 Infinities die on me.
Kill him? Did you kill him?
I mean, just fell out of the sky. Just fell out of the sky.
Jeez.
But I was crashing a lot more in those first couple years, 3 years. You know what I mean? I don't crash as much anymore, which is part of the equation. And and it's weird how you kind of learn. Somehow you develop a less severe crashing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like your crashes are less severe. You save more. You don't crash as much. First of all,
when I started FPV, and maybe this is something that carried over from like RC cars, because when I was in RC cars, like back in like 2008, I was racing. So it probably carried over, but when I started FPV, I was like, okay, like the less time I can spend crashing, the more time I have learning. So I would always dial it back to like 80% and just try to finish the battery, you know. So I didn't do a lot of crashing until I started racing. And like even now when I fly freestyle, if I crash, it's super rare. Like it's super rare. Like typically if I'm crashing, it's because I'm racing and I'm trying to like find, you know, like a 10th. And I miss a gate or something. But with freestyle, like I've always had the mindset, like even with my RC cars, if I go out on track, if I flip my car over, that's time that I'm not learning the lines on the track.
Right.
So it's better to slow down, finish out your battery, and gain the experience. And that's how I approach everything. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm sure that probably helped.
Yeah. Admittedly, I did not crash a lot in the beginning. Like rarely, very rare.
See, I did. I don't know on what scale and what the norm is and stuff like that, but I definitely did crash a lot more, like a lot more than I do now. But I think part of it is now. Then I'm trying to force some lines because I'm trying to learn how to be this epic freestyle pilot, but also now I'm able to recognize when I'm not in the right position and I can bail.
Yeah.
Whereas before I didn't quite recognize I'm not lined up for that gap. I'm coming in, I'm not going to make that bang. And I would just go for it anyways. And before you know it, it's, you know,
just sit.
Yeah, you know, so my opinions may be a little skewed now based on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've never even tried a hobby wing ESC. I mean, I use them in my 10 scale RC cars. I've never tried one for FPV. Like obviously, I've used a lot of Emax stuff, and newbie drone stuff. I think that's mostly what I've been flying for like the last few years is Emax and newbie drone.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Once I got past the Tiny Hawk 2, that was the first thing I ever flew or was trying to fly. Like I couldn't do the sim. The sim just isn't for me. It's too boring. Yeah. Even today, I'll try and sit down and work on a trick, and it's just I'm just like
I hate sims. Yeah.
I just, you know, so I had the Tiny Hawk 2, I had the kit. And so that's how I was learning how to fly that around the house and at work in the warehouse. I was building my 5-inch and my TP3 and stuff like that, waiting for all my DJI stuff to come in. But once I got past that stage of learning how to fly and stuff like that, I haven't done much with Emax.
Yeah. So Emax sponsored me for years.
Oh, that's cool.
And like I've always stuck with them because it's funny. When was it? It was probably in 2015 or 2016. But Emax actually revolutionized FPV motors. Let me see. When was that? Because because back then in like 2015, we were all like everybody was flying the Cobra 2204s. That was like the go-to 5-inch motor that people were flying on their blackouts. And then Emax came out with the RS 2205. That was in 2016, and they just like blew the market open because they came out with bigger magnets, bigger stators. And they're like
still making those motors.
Oh yeah. Well, they just keep like changing the versions. But those motors had like something crazy, like twice the amount of thrust as the Cobra 2204s.
Oh wow!
So like it just and then the motor industry just kind of exploded from there, but it was Emax that started it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet that was exciting to go for to get double the thrust out of a motor.
I think I ended up going from, on 5-inch, I ended up going from like 1806s to 2205s.
Gotcha.
It was mad. Yeah. Yeah, I've always just kind of like stuck by like Emax. I've never had a problem with their stacks or anything like that.
No, they're a good company. I was killing my Tiny Hawk. I ended up buying. That's where I learned you had to have a fleet. I had 2 Tiny Hawks, and then I was buying extra boards and extra. At first you just get the kit, then you get the kit, and you're like, cool. And then something breaks a prop, you're like, oh well, now I got to wait a week, and that just started the addiction. It's like, no, give me 5 sets of props, and go ahead and give me some more batteries, and then go ahead and order a couple more backup AIOs and cameras, and it was a real fun time. It was a great little way to start figuring out how to FPV, how to configure, how to configure beta flight and all that kind of stuff. Thank God for the nature of the hobby, because without people out there willing to spend, it would almost be impossible for a good portion of people that are in the hobby today.
Yeah,
not everybody like me. I didn't have an electronic background. Never heard of a PID controller, PID loop. As you pointed out, my extent with RC was I bought this kit. It came with the truck and the radio. It was already bound. There's no flashing. There's no binding, nothing like that. Like there's a lot of us out there that we don't know anything without people out there willing to spend an hour answering basic questions. We'd never be able to do it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like when you're involved with FPV and surface RC, the differences. Like FPV is all open source, and then you've got most everything being produced in China, and China is really, really open to like community feedback and providing the best products for like a good end user experience. And the surface world, it's so much older, but since it's always been like handed to you to where you don't have to learn anything, like the surface RC community gets taken for a total ride. So like a good example is like you have an MT12 radio, which is like $130.
Mm-hmm.
That radio is more powerful than a $700 Futaba. But people in the surface community, they don't know any better because they bought everything from a hobby store and they didn't have to learn anything. So they go and spend $300 on a motor and ESC thinking that's normal, but you're totally getting taken for a ride. It's crazy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it's because everything's closed source and they've never had to learn anything about how anything works. So they just buy what they're told to buy without doing any research. It's just, and then you've got FPV, like where you have to like minor in coding just to get a drone in the air. And, China knows like if we overprice this, they're just going to move on to the next thing because everything's open source. Like there's no bullshit.
Yeah. And, you made me realize something and appreciate something more than I was. Like, so I'm always a staunch. I want to support my home. I want to support the United States of America, made in America. The more we have of that, the better. But it wasn't until you made the comment about the difference between FPV and the RC world or whatever and the interaction with the Chinese manufacturers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are blessed that they're basically so connected and so down to earth.
Yeah,
with embedded in the community. Like, don't take that for granted, because that is something pretty cool that you don't get in any other manufacturing.
And it's like I've always struggled when people bring politics into consumerism. I've always struggled with it because, like, yeah, you can feel one way about, like, you know, the CCP and having things in the US, but at the end of the day, like, at least when it comes to our hobby of FPV, China is going to take care of you. Like, and they're going to listen to you, and they're going to give you things at an affordable price. And if their product is bad, they're going to fix it fast. You know, like, people like to rag on China, but like the people on the ground that are customer facing, like, they care about making good products. Like, they don't care about making money first. They care about making products that people will enjoy. You know what I mean? And like, whenever I've worked with people in China, like, I mean, you know, there's no ego, there's no arrogance. Like, they honestly just want to make good products. So, I mean, you can like rag in the country all you want, but like, people in the US don't do that. You know, people in the US are like, you're going to buy it because it's made in the US, even though there's like a 200% markup. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe if you like could do it as well as the Chinese, but I mean, like, I like all the people I've worked with over the years in China, I've loved every one of them, because like, they genuinely care about making good products.
They've all been very polite.
Yeah.
You know, they definitely have. I'm assuming most of the stuff in the RC ground world is made in China as well. Yeah.
But they don't, I mean, like, everything that's customer facing is in the US.
What about Futaba? Is it have a US presence? It's Japanese, I believe, but does it have a US presence?
No, Futaba, Sanwa, no, nothing like that.
No, okay.
Yeah.
It is Japanese, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think so.
But yeah, like, Futaba, like, dude, it drives me crazy. People go out and spend $700 on radio, and it's like, and you can't even look at the source code on the radio. You know, it's all closed. But they're like, yeah, it's the best. And you know what's so crazy? Like, you and I will think about this, but Surface people won't. Futaba doesn't even list their latency.
Oh, wow.
You can't find it anywhere. Like, Spectrum, they list theirs. Sanwa lists theirs. Futaba, they're supposedly the best radio link in Surface RC. They don't list their latency anywhere.
Wow.
They're just like, it's fast.
I know they have like one small receiver that's along the lines of our ILRS and TBS receivers, but it's like 4 channels max, something like that. Like, yeah, like, I'm like, really? I mean, that's so, you know, somebody that's never owned a Futaba, and have heard the marketing, you know, like, Futaba is the best. You know, you're going to spend $500 on an entry radio, whatever. Like, is there anything special about the Futaba radios?
No,
not at all.
Oh, no, they look nice, and they have like nice color menus, and I think maybe they have touchscreens now. But anything nice compared to an MT12? No, not at all. I mean, an MT12 probably is harder to use for people that aren't familiar with it, with like Edge TX. But no, there's no Surface radio that's as good as an MT12. Maybe like they have better ergonomics because the MT12 is very basic. But the MT12 from a programming standpoint is better than any surface radio. It's insanity. It's insanity because my previous radio was a Sanwa M17 and it was like $600, and it's not as good as an MT12. So yeah, when the MT12 came out, I was like, finally.
Wow.
Finally. Thank you, radio.
Right. I know there was a flurry of ground guys doing YouTube videos on it. My perception is that the community hasn't really embraced it.
Yeah.
Is that it? I mean, yay or nay?
Yeah, that's true. But it's because of the culture. Like the surface RC community culture is such that if it's not expensive, it's not good. Like that's how they've been like propagandized. Like
it's kind of like golf.
they think it has to be expensive.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's like most hobbies. The more expensive it is, the better it's got to be.
Yeah, except for FPV,
which is just crazy. Yeah, we're blessed. I because I was guilty of it. I mean, I thought for a while there, I was thinking, I want a Futaba radio for FPV. I know I have to do this thing that NERC did and get the module and take these wires out and put these wires in. But now I've got a Futaba flying, with Crossfire. This must be the best radio. And Cricket did it too. And, never having touched a Futaba in my life or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really funny to hear you say that, this GX12 or this Boxer or whatever is every bit as good as one of those $700 radios.
If not better. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, yeah.
I mean, I guess you could kind of say the GX12 might actually be better now due to its ability to do some crazy shit,
I mean, I would say a Tyrannus was better than a Futaba.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything with open source is going to be better than something with closed source.
Yeah.
Because you've got teams of people that are enthusiastic about making it better. They don't care about
it. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, and I'm sure you remember the period, like when I started, the development of the open source software on the radio. Before EdgeTX, it was OpenTX.
Mm-hmm.
And like every month, Bardwell and somebody else talking about the new update, the new feature, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then it calmed down, and then it went to EdgeTX, and EdgeTX is doing things specifically for the FPV community, blah blah. And then it just went away, and now you don't hear anything about the advancements in EdgeTX. It's all ELRS.
Yeah.
And it's still all beta flight. Like Emu Flight. You remember Emu Flight, right?
Yeah.
Like it there's no more talking about that. KISS is kind of plateaued. There's really no more talking about advancements in KISS and stuff like that. It's funny to see how, I don't know if they're fads, but they're seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's definitely seasons in FPV that, I didn't recognize when I was first starting out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
viral.
Yeah. I was going to say it depends on like who's influencing it. Like you talk about like KISS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a lot of pilots still on KISS, and I know I'm still in the Emu Flight group, and I know there's still a core group of people that fly Emu Flight, but like they haven't updated it in a while.
Yeah.
For easy integration of DJI, none of the new advances and stuff like that. But apparently the the gentleman that did the coding of Emu Flight, he's now working on another flight software. I don't know where that's going to go or what have you, but he's working. I guess he's done with the Emu Flight, so he's picking up another project, and he's going to be working on another variation of Emu Flight, Beta Flight, KISS, what have you.
Interesting.
This is crazy how like every month it was all these updates on OpenTX and then EdgeTX, and then it just hit me like it just went away. And like, is anybody still working on EdgeTX, or have they got it to a point where they say it's kind of like Emu Flight? They say, well, it's done. There's not a whole lot we need to do.
I mean, like with radios, like I said, I've never been a fan of like updating radios. So even if they are making advancements on it, it's not even something I would pay attention to. Like, I'm not touching the firmware on my radio unless I have to. Like, I don't care.
That's where I've gotten to, man. Until ELRS says, hey, you need to update EdgeTX in order to work with 3.6 or something, I don't play that chase game anymore. Beta Flight is about the only thing that I keep up relatively. I'll stay within 2 or 3 releases, but ELRS, I'll let it go from 3.2 to 3.6 or something before I change, unless there's something definitely wanted, needed, something like that. In which for me, like with the new radio and the Gemini and the crossband and all that, I finally went up to the current, which is 3.53 or whatever. But outside of that, like, that was part of the fun when I was new. But then I realized you're causing so many headaches, I can't tell you how many times I sat down and I was anal about it. I had to have all my fleet all had to be on the same TBS firmware. And, I 4 or 5 inch and 4 or 5 whoops and, 2 Hornets and DC3 or whatever. And so I'd sit down on a Saturday and I'd start flashing all of them to have them all on the same firmware. And it inevitably, it would never fail. There would be 1, 2, or 3 that it took the update, but would not connect, would not bind. It just refused. Or there'd be one that wouldn't take the update. And so I'd then have to reverse and go back to an earlier version for them to all be on the same version. And after a while, I was just like, it's not worth it. I mean, I'm just because some YouTuber made a video about it doesn't mean you have to do it,
Yeah, with radios, as long as they work, just leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's usually more of a need to update Beta Flight firmware than any other firmware.
Yeah. Beta Flight firmware and DJI firmware.
Yeah.
When DJI releases a firmware, it's usually worthwhile, unless they're just adding a feature for a new model.
Backwards compatibility. I usually don't, because with DJI, I'm usually on the latest goggles for the best experience. So I'm usually not too concerned about the rollback for compatibility. Yeah. So I might wait on a update on DJI for a while. Or there was a couple times in the past where once you update, you can't roll back past a certain firmware. And so, and I can't remember what you potentially lost. It's been so long, but like, I didn't update those for nothing. I think they're still not updated because I didn't want to lose whatever.
That was for the WTF OS. Like, you had,
it was around that time.
You had to be firmware, and it couldn't be newer.
Yeah, and they knew, and DJI kind of put that stop point in it where if you did upgrade, you couldn't go back because they kind of didn't want you doing the WT. And so I think I got a lot of stuff. Like my original V1s, they're still not updated past that
firmware,
that point.
Yeah.
So I can still do the WTOF or whatever if I wanted to, even though I never went and did it.
Yeah, it's funny. I just did it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because all my stuff's been sitting in a bag, and I'm like, oh, I should finally do this, I guess. it's pretty. It's better than the OSD in the Goggles 3.
Oh, you think so?
It is, because it's like the WTF OS. It's like upgraded with like color fonts and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Yeah, it looks dope.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, I mean, this is probably, you've got such a long experience in it. For me, I've seen a lot of changes, like not technology wise, but as far as the culture of FPV, like how has it changed over the years from what you've seen? Is it pretty much still the same? Everybody's still doing the same things, being supportive, stuff like that? Or has the type of people that it draws, this flying style, what has changed over?
I wouldn't say much with the culture has changed. I think, techniques have evolved a lot with freestyle and with racing. Like watching how that's evolved has been insane. I think the biggest change in FPV were the V1 DJI goggles, because that experience drew in an entirely different like demographic of people that were interested in FPV. Because like before that, they would look at it and realize that we were flying through analog and they'd be put off by it. But when DJI came out, now you've got like all these like middle-aged dads and just like people that would not be a part of that like fringe society,
less hardcore type of mentality.
Not even less hard, it just made it way more accessible. Like that brought so many people into the hobby that wouldn't have considered it otherwise. And I think the 04 is probably going to do the same thing.
That's kind of, in my short stint, that's what I've been seeing, because I definitely feel that I've seen a change in FPV from when I started. And as they released the Vada, then the Vada 2 and the Neo, and the 03, like the easier DJI makes it, the more bridges they put, like the Vada, that opened the door to a different group of people to get into FPV. It was a bridge. I definitely feel like I've been seeing it change, and I feel like it's less of a subculture freestyle. There's this racing thing too, but we're kind of got this subculture freestyle renegade type of thing to more
mainstream
cinematic, less on the sickest trick type of deal, more on I don't know, a lot more people trying to do it for work, less freestyle, more I want to recreate this video I saw somebody else do type of stuff.
Like when the V1 goggles came out, that's when you started seeing these big YouTubers that started making FPV content, but they were like camera vloggers. So you've got all these people, like they're like videographers, camera bloggers. They're coming in and they understand photography and exposure and everything that goes along with it. and they can apply that to FPV because of DJI. And so, yeah, it just like exploded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. DJI definitely made a huge impact.
And oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What's crazy to me now, and granted, I didn't try the O3 or the goggles 2, but what's crazy to me now, like the V1 system when it came out, that was huge because we're going from analog to HD just like overnight. With this new stuff, with the O4 and the goggles 3, dude, the signal is so good. Like there's no breakup, there's no pixelating, there's no tiling. It's a clear HD picture the entire damn time you're flying. Like it, dude, it's
maybe that's what maybe that's one of the things I'm seeing in my goggles, and I didn't tie it into
the resolution,
the signal being so good, because like there's no patchiness and stuff like that.
Yeah, with the Vistas, it gets blurry when the signal gets low. But with the O4, dude, it's like it's clear the entire time. It's
the entire time,
dude. It's
like I did notice that I can't fly it on auto. There's
I took mine off auto.
Yeah, there's a slight skip and stuff like that. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's changing wattage or channels or whatever. But when my last little video I did, I put it on channel 1 or 3 or 3, and I'm just like, this is it's just so locked in.
Yeah,
it's so good.
To me, this is as big of a step as going from analog to the V1s, because like this system is that much better than the V1 system, than the Cadix. It just stays perfectly clear the entire time.
I mean, light bulb went off when you said that. I think I'm relating it. I wasn't relating it to how good the signal was. Yeah. Because I honestly, I'd kind of forgotten. I knew they were smearing and blurry and stuff like that, but I just wasn't thinking about the signal strength being the resolution of that in the O4. Yeah, it's crazy.
I
mean, it's gonna be so good.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so good for like mountain surfing and long range stuff.
Yeah,
or
like a wing.
yeah. I mean, to those people that live in Switzerland or close to the mountains, whatever, to be able to take in this breathtaking views in that with the L4, I'm envious. I'm ready for fall, because that's the closest thing I'm going to get to some really pretty stuff here in our yeah. All right, I'm gonna do me a wing.
I just needed to warm up.
What's the temp there?
I think this week it's in the 40s, but it's usually like in the 30s or colder. Like it's cold. Yeah,
we're gonna be in the 70s this week. In Arkansas, it's not, the winters aren't like they used to be when I was a kid growing up. Like when I was a kid growing up, when winter came, it was winter every day for 3 months, 4 months, right? You're in winter. The last decade or whatever, it's like we get 2-3 weeks of cold. 2 of those weeks may be for us what we consider really cold, which are the teens. And then you get into the 60s again, and then you got random days of the 70s, and that's 50s and 60s up until springtime.
Yeah, we should be getting into the 50s towards like the end of February, hopefully. I'm excited to fly again, so I need to get out there. I need to get some more builds.
I've got to change my build up because now that I don't have the GoPro on it and the O4, it feels different. I've got to work on the tune on it. I'm not sure. Like I'm running. So it's a 5.5-inch build running 25 millimeter FPV cycle motors.
Okay.
And I went that way because it definitely helped handle action camera weight better.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit more locked in. It would recover better and stuff like that in dives because that way. Now, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't. Now it's like the thrust to rate ratio is off.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna have to put a limit on it, or
what size lipos are you using?
6S 1550s.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's still
go down to 5-inch props.
That's going to be step one, but I still feel like it's going to be a little bit too overpowered. It definitely doesn't want it. It does. I don't like an extremely slingable drone where it falls like my Banggods did. They were so heavy, like they're gonna fall. Which that's great. I mean, some people really like that. I like somewhere in the middle. I don't want a real floaty, but I don't want something that's gonna fall like a brick every time.
Yeah,
it's pretty floaty right now, so I'm gonna have to tone it down. I hate to give up the 25 millimeter motors, but I don't really see much need for them anymore. They're great motors, but on a 5-inch, I don't see the need much anymore because I won't fly an extra camera again. It's going to be the O4.
Yeah.
I got blessed, and last year I worked on the first season of Mud Madness on the Discovery Channel, and I used the DJI O4, the Osmo, the Action 4 and O3, and they used some of both footage in the show. And I'm like, I really feel like the reason the GoPro is the standard is because it was the only thing out there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, one thing that I picked up on was they would be attaching GoPros to the side-by-sides and the 4x4s and stuff like that for different shots and stuff like that. And I can't tell you how many times y'all be ready to roll. Hold on, the GoPro overheated because it's 90 degrees outside.
Yeah,
and they're waiting, and the GoPros would continually overheat, so we'd have to pause. That Osmo Action 4, it didn't overheat one time.
Yeah.
Not one time all day long did I have an overheat issue or what have you. And so to me, the fact that they use the footage, I just think that we get caught up in which is the better quality footage, and really it's action camera to action camera. It's not a $30,000 cinema camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely think like the O4, if I ever get another gig again, I don't think that there's going to be an issue with just running the O4 for that.
Not at all. And so
it's so good.
What I've been telling people, because people are still asking like what's the best action camera, or is an O4 Pro going to be as good as a Dax.Neal or something? And like what I keep telling people is like, you have to understand from a pure physical standpoint, the sensor in the O4 Pro is better than anything else on the market because it's twice the size of everything else in the market. Like when you have a bigger sensor, like you're not going to compensate with that with software. That's just not how cameras work. And the O4 Pro has a sensor that's twice as big as a GoPro. So
is that crazy?
It's, dude, like when I saw that sensor size, I was like, what? It's like my webcam is my Osmo Pocket 3, and it's the same sensor. And my Action 4, it's the same sensor. And it's funny because I got the Action 4 for my motorcycle because I had been filming my rides with like a Hero 11, and dude, every ride I was like messing with like corrupted SD cards, overheating, dead batteries, and I was like, I'm so sick of this GoPro, and I've had like 4 GoPros over the years, and so I replaced it with an Action 4. Dude, that thing is flawless. It just works every time, and it records forever. My Pocket 3, flawless. Like DJI, like they know what they're doing.
I want a Pocket 3 real bad. I really do. But that Osmo 4, like, it was so easy. Like, I never had to turn it off. It's just sitting on the quad.
Yeah.
When they said, FPV up, all I had to do was plug in the battery and hit the button, and it would wake up immediately. It wouldn't be this 30-second delay like with the GoPro. It'd wake up immediately and start recording, and it never overheated. The battery life was so long on it, and it just simplified. It just simplified. Like normally, you got to change your battery, and then you got to change the GoPro battery, and then you got to turn it back on. And it was just like, it was just on all day. Yeah. And like every so often I would just like, well, let me swap the battery out. And it was just so, and the image was good. And now we've got even better image.
Yeah.
The dynamic range is even better on the 04.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. When I got my Action 4 on my bike, we were out riding in the mountains, and it was like the first time I'd ever filled up an SD card. Like we were riding and I heard it beep, and I was like, what the hell? So I like take it off, and I was like, because with my GoPro, it would never fill up the card because something bad would happen before it got there. Like either the battery would die or something. But like with my Action 4, I had to like break down and buy bigger SD cards. I was like, this thing will just run all day long. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, they really have. And that Osmo Action 3 looks really sick.
The Pocket 3?
The Pocket 3, yeah, that looks really sick.
That replaced my Sony for vlogging.
That's what.
If you look at it, dude, it's like so you see my face, dude. That's just a little.
Oh,
That's my Osmo. That's not a Sony, dude. That's my Osmo. You see how it's like focusing?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm all blurred in the background.
That's crazy. I didn't even pick up on his. That's crazy. Have you done it?
It's like the same sensor that's in this camera.
It looks so good. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
Oh, sorry.
Have you used it at night any? Like the night, from what I've seen, looks really great.
I haven't really.
From what I've seen from people, it looks amazing at night.
I mean, that's believable. I mean, it's a pretty big sensor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want one so bad. I keep eyeing them. I just haven't broken off $500 yet.
Yeah.
Keep looking for.
Yeah. And then you can like bind the mics to it, the DJI mics, without needing a receiver. But yeah, when I go out and vlog now, like I'm not dragging my mirrorless in a tripod. That's crazy.
Right.
And then switch lenses in the field. Yeah, no. Yeah, DJI is killing it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for. I guess I'm waiting for them to come out with the 4, which I think I've started seeing some rumors of that. So I can try and get a used one at a better price. Like even the refurbished, like they have refurbished listed on the DJI side, and it's like $15 less than brand new or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, for what they are, they're super affordable, I feel like.
They are, but like 400 or 500.
Are they that much?
Yeah, I believe so.
Osmo Pocket 3. That's not going to give me a price. Yeah. Oh, those are all bundles. I want to say they're like
Yeah, you can't really find one by itself, I don't think.
maybe because they're like end of life.
519, 669.
Oh wow, they must be. Maybe they're end of life. I don't remember. Maybe I'm thinking of my Action 4.
Probably the Action 4.
But yeah, I mean, whatever it cost, it's definitely worth it. It's yeah, it's a badass little camera.
Yeah, and like the refurbished was like $495 or something like that. And I'm like, well, I don't want, I mean, might as well just spend the $20-25 to get brand new.
Yeah.
I just hadn't pulled the trigger on it yet, but that's definitely what I want to get. Because just making little videos and stuff, I agree with, like, it's so much easier just to pull that out.
Yeah.
And then I saw where somebody actually for $60, they've got a little, I don't know what you call them, but it's those suction cup arms that you put on like the side of your vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so you can get those weird shots and it's stabilized or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, for $60, I would definitely pick one up just for the hell of it. I don't know when I would use it, but I'd find a reason to use it, you know. I wonder what the 4 is going to be like. It's probably going to be insane.
Bigger sensor.
Yeah.
You
ought to look at some of the YouTube videos of the night mode on it. It's really fucking good. I
believe it.
Not that I would have a whole lot of use for at night, but it's just like to know you've got it.
Yeah.
Because I'd done little things like I'd bought Insta360's little handheld gimbal.
Mm-hmm.
You put your phone on it and it tracks you. And I was like, I'm going to use that for content creation. And it's so janky. And it never, I never use it because it's so annoying. And then inevitably you want your phone for something.
Yeah.
But you can't because it's on that.
Yeah.
So that's right up the alley. But they're proud of them. There's no 450s, $399 markdowns or anything anywhere. They weren't even really marked down for Christmas or anything like that. That's how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's not usually something DJI does. But I mean, I've always felt like, especially like with FPV, I've always felt like DJI's pricing is extremely reasonable. You know what I mean? Because cheaper than HD zeros. Yeah. Or back then it was like the Fat Shark HDOs. I'm like, y'all are spending $500 on analog goggles. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, and that was the thing back when I was new, the first 2-3 years, like everybody that didn't like DJI was shitting on DJI because like, oh, they're expensive and they're corporate. They don't give a shit about you, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, wait a minute, HD Zero came out and they're $200 more expensive. Oh yeah, but they've got analog and like, yeah, but it's still it didn't have penetration.
Yeah,
you can have 15 milliseconds latency all you want, but if you can't fly around the house, I mean, there's at some point it doesn't add up. And what's crazy is there's so few people on the HD Zero ecosystem that when somebody puts their HD Zero goggles up for sale, they're still asking for almost retail price.
Yeah,
like $15 less. It's like, what?
And it's and like, yeah, and we're talking about like club racers.
Yeah,
like, I mean, you can get a pair of like Amway Commanders and run the same lap times. I mean, okay, yeah, I don't get it. I've never understood like chasing lap times with money. Never.
Well, I know part of it is that that culture where you're, as we kind of talked about FPV as a whole, where you've got the owner, like he's involved, like people are able to talk to him face to face, and he's listening. Like I get that that's very, very sought after, very, very appreciated. And for some, I think that's the draw, is that little subculture where they have so much interaction with personal one-on-one interaction with the owner. I wish I could remember the man's name. But I just, not being a professional racer, it really didn't make sense to me. And being that I could, in my mind, I could get the same experience with my little module that I have that I just slap on my analog. Like that's good enough for me to keep tabs on what developments are going on.
Yeah. With FPV, I've always been, I mean, not even FPV, with everything, I've always been focused more on the value that something offers. So like I would like when the Fat Shark HDOs came out, I was like, you're crazy. Like I'm like analog FPV is peaked, and you're not going to make it better by getting OLED HDO goggles. So like I never bought into like the expensive Fat Shark goggles. And then when HD0 came out, I was like, cool, it's kind of like analog, but it's like I just didn't see any value in it. And then when DJI came out, I was like, okay, that has a lot of value. Like that's giving you a completely different experience, and it's worth the money. But to me, stuff like the Fat Shark HDOs, it was never worth it. Or like, I mean, you see people buying like, I don't know. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds, but yeah, I've always been not necessarily budget, but something has to hold its value.
I hear you.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of classified as used worthy or new worthy. Like, is it what it's offering good enough to support me buying full price at new, or is it only worthy of me buying something secondhand?
Yeah.
And so analog HD0, that's been in the used budget category. I've never bought a brand new pair of analog goggles. I've bought used HD0 modules to go on my analog goggles. I did buy Dax.Neal brand new. I thought it was going to be more than what it was. Because it's basically Gen 1 DJI. They reverse engineered it, but they still have not ever cracked the signal strength of DJI. I do respect that they've got a larger ecosystem. There's more options. You've got this repeater now and stuff. That's some cool things. But like penetration wise and stuff, it's whatever reason they just can't match DJI, even though it looks identical, almost identical on the screens and stuff like that, or it does look identical. But ever since that first year, and realizing like, oh, it's not quite the same. Like, I don't think I've invested another dime in it. I almost picked up the what's that? They got a Pro Cam out, a Pro Stack VTX. I almost picked it up just to see where it's gone to, but I couldn't bring myself to it. I just maybe I'm finally wising up and not chasing things, but definitely now with the 04, it's like Dax.Neal's going to have to do something really impressive for me to want to dabble and fill out where they are currently.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to happen for a minute.
Probably not.
You know, not to try and piss on anybody's parade or anything like that, but
it's good to have options.
Yeah. There's a pocketbook does have benefits, and DJI's got those pocketbooks.
Yeah.
And then, I have a sneaky suspicion based on their experience with the Gen 1 and walks now and stuff like that. I have a suspicion they're probably more savvy about their components, and it's probably much harder to get components by competitors that would allow them to compete with DJI,
Yeah.
like, we'll buy these chips from you, but nobody
like a monopoly.
Yeah, like nobody else is going to buy these chips from you or what have you.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think we've been on here for a minute.
4 hours.
This is the longest conversation I've ever had with anybody. Yeah, 4 hours. That's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think
usually it's 2 hours is usually where people throw in the towel.
Yeah, it's dinner time now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that means that you had an enjoyable experience, an enjoyable conversation, because I know I did.
Heck yeah, man. It's been good.
Yeah. I was thrilled to see you kind of getting back in to FPV, because like I said, like when I went new, you see the some of the well-known people in the hobby. There's the Evan Turner and Bardwell and Steele and Nurk and everybody else. And for me, you were one of those, and just how friendly you were to a total noob or whatever, it always impressed me. And then we'd have little chats here and there. My son's not into FPV, and you're like, well, he's just got to be his own person. And you were just always real down to earth and friendly to everybody and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I saw you getting back, I wanted to definitely jump in an opportunity to chat with you and get to know you a little bit better. And
I appreciate it,
hopefully you're gonna be in it for another 2 to 4 years. I
think
you
so.
have been.
Dude, my you like, if you can imagine, my poor wife. Like I go from not right. Like I'm riding my motorcycle, I'm playing video games, and then out of the blue, I'm like, babe, I need some new goggles. My poor wife. She's like, absolutely not. I'm like, it's but the sensor, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just like out of nowhere, dude. I haven't FPV'd in 2 years, and I'm just like, I'm gonna FPV again. Yeah.
And I'll say this from what I see of on Facebook and stuff like that, it seems like y'all have an amazing relationship, and you're blessed. You're very blessed. I know I am, and it sure makes having hobbies like this stuff so much easier when you've got a really cool wife.
Yeah, like there's not enough good things I can say about my wife. Like if I did, I think everyone would unfriend me because like they'd be sick of it. But like there's something to be said about a woman that understands that men just have hobbies. We're big kids, and it's and I feel sorry for the guys out there that don't have that. It's really unfortunate.
I do too. Yeah. I do too. Some women are jealous of the time they and it makes it hard. Like I was, the very first time I stepped out of my comfort zone and sat down on a chat like this, I had to throw props out to my wife, because one, for her patience through all the time I spent chasing this hobby and stuff like that, just hearing me all the time talking about FPV, hey babe, look at this video. You know, like I learned a new edit trick, which is horrible, but I learned something new, you know, like look at this, like just being so supportive and not once ever being jealous about my time and excitement, stuff like that. Like I will never, I will always feel sorry for guys who are discovering and are so excited and then have a partner that's not supportive or is a hindrance or is
Jealous.
You know, adding a level of negativity to it, because it's such, for some of us, it's such a magical time that we get to be this kid all over again.
Yeah, and
that's what she gave me.
Yeah, and you're not like wasting a Sunday at Bob's house watching football. You're not at the bars. You're not, you know, I mean, there's much worse things. Like I'm gonna go play with my toy drone, babe.
You know what I tease her. I tease her all the time. I was like, babe, but I'm not out whoring around doing drugs.
yeah. And my wife, she doesn't like, she'll like, this time around she gave me a little bit of pushback, but she doesn't have much of a leg to stand on because she got to like go to Hawaii and New York for racing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like so she's gotten the benefits from FPV too, so she doesn't have much of a leg to stand on. Yeah. Good time.
Well, yeah. We're blessed. We're blessed. But man, if you would you ever want to sit down and chat again in a few months?
Sure.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. I'd love to sit down and chat with you again.
Maybe we'll both have like 04 wings by then.
Maybe that's the goal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to work on that.
Yeah, the hardest part with wings is setting the flaps so the plane will fly level. That's the hardest part because I mean, I don't know if it's advanced, but back in the day, you didn't know if your flaps were adjusted correctly until you flew the plane.
Okay.
And so like that first couple of hand tosses could be brutal. You're like, that's definitely wrong. That thing's dived into the ground. But I'm assuming it's gotten better.
Do you need to pay attention to the center of gravity CG, trying to make sure it's, I guess, between the wings or whatever?
Well, the plane will have a mark on it where the CG should be. So you just like balance it on your finger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you just like slide your battery back and forth.
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna put some projects down and I'm gonna pull that thing off the wall and start playing around with that.
Heck yeah. And then you're gonna set up your race gates, and I'm gonna see race videos from you now. Start pacing lap times.
Buy a zero turn lawnmower.
Oh man.
Well, brother, I appreciate it, man. I had a great time.
Me too, dude. Me too.
We'll have to do it again. And I like I said, when I hit in recording, there should be something on your side that says it's processing. If you would just let that, just let that run, and then I should have this. It'll probably be a week. I'll have it up on my channel. But I mean, you were here, so not a whole lot of thrill going back and rewatching it. But just FYI.
Cool, man.
All right, brother. You have a blessed rest of your night.
You too, dude. I'll see you on Facebook.
All right. Peace out.
All right. Take it easy.